100% Plague Inc. I'm gonna need to crush the world as all 11 diseases on mega brutal difficulty, complete all 30 intensely difficult scenarios, resurrect Count Dracula, bring back mad cow disease, get all 234 achievements. How are there so many? Is this a joke? And harder than all that, actually infect Greenland. I 100%ed Plague Inc. Start out, we've only got one pathogen type, bacteria, which I load in on normal difficulty. For our first plague, we need to go with something that has been infecting the world slowly and threatens to collapse all of society. I am, of course, talking about the evil, villainous podcasts. You are a new bacteria. To win, you must evolve and spread across the world. Wiping out all humans is the ultimate plague. Oh, this should be no problem for podcasts, trust me. Yes, podcasts, now more readily available than ever, will be quick to spread across the world, as billions of people wondered, what if 5 average white men were just kinda hanging out? But in order to spread the evil that is podcasts across the globe, we'll first need to decide on our starting country. Now, where your plague starts is intensely important to its success, as the quicker you can start your spread, the quicker you can end. I've accidentally clicked the screen. Oh shoot, where did I go? It began in France. Of course, something so vile and horrible could only come out of the French. Podcast has infected its first human. No! Turn off the Joe Rogan experience, please. My podcast disease starts infecting slowly, only a few people at a time, just mindlessly slapping on something while they do the dishes, kind of like you're doing right now. As the disease grows, I'll get some orange DNA bubbles to pop. If I click these, I then get DNA points that I can use to evolve my disease. After popping a good amount of these bubbles, I've got 13 DNA points. There are 3 major tabs that we can spend these points in: transmission, symptoms, and abilities. With podcasts being such a young disease, we've only infected 4 people, so we need to focus on spreading it, which means I need to look towards transmissions. After reading through all the options, I decide to go with air level 1. That's truly the most harmful way a podcast can spread after all. Your friend telling you that you need to check out this hilarious podcast where these dudes actually get kind of serious sometimes. Purchasing this upgrade gives me my first achievement of the run. Only 233 left to go. But the results from spreading podcasts through the air are staggering. It's just 2 weeks after purchasing, I had gone from 4 people infected to 5 people infected. Jeez, this is so slow going. So in order to spread our disease, I need to make it even more infectious. You know what else is infectious? Subscribing. But be serious here. Tons of people forget to subscribe, even though it's more than likely you've already seen one of my videos before. You clearly like them, so just go ahead and subscribe so my videos can be recommended to you more often, and you don't spend 30 minutes searching for a video to watch just to have already finished your dinner. Each of the transmissions we can buy have their own quirks that make them more powerful in certain environments. Bug transmission thrives in poor countries, livestock thrives in rural ones, and so on. Unfortunately for me, the extent of my French knowledge is limited entirely to Ratatouille, which is why I purchased Rat 1 here. I mean, they're letting rats in the kitchen there. This has to work. Oh my god. 6 people. This is thrilling. Months are going by. Only 7 people infected. Come on, it's all up in the rats. Okay, I'm never starting in France ever again, man. The game soon answers my question, as it tells me that the reason that podcasts are spreading so slowly is because France is a wealthy country. You see, wealthy countries have access to good medicine, so in order to actually infect them, you need to go to the ability tab and grab the drug resistance upgrade. And immediately after enacting that, things finally start going my way. Podcasts are spreading from person to person in France and will grow exponentially. Yes! Let's go! We just had to make it more tailored towards rich people. We had to get Elon Musk on Joe Rogan. Now, as is standard when people listen to podcasts, I mutate the nausea symptoms without using any of my DNA points. But this is much too early in the podcast lifespan to already be giving people nausea. So I go into the symptoms menu and immediately devolve that. While I initially thought the mutation a bad thing, it ends up helping, as devolving it refunds me 2 free DNA points. Yeah, no, we can't have people getting nauseous yet. We're not nearly ready for Talk to a territory. And soon, those hundreds turned into 1,000, which turned into multiple thousands. Look at how the numbers are skyrocketing. Oh my god, almost 10,000 people in France. Voters in the UK vote to leave the... Oh no, not Brexit. Was that my fault? How did podcasts have to... Well, actually, podcasts probably had a lot to do. Soon after Brexit, I get some absolutely glorious news. Podcasts had finally spread outside the breaded walls of France and jumped over the border into Italy. Our spread was moving faster than ever as some fool from France decides to get on a plane to Russia while infected with podcasts, spreading our influence to an entirely separate continent. Well, this was all nice. I desired more. I didn't want to just make a small mark on the world. I wanted all 7 billion people to be infected with podcasts. Comedians who only know how to do TikTok crowd work. Anime YouTubers who will painstakingly explain every single aspect of Japanese life. And whatever the heck Bill Maher talks about. I wanted it all. So it was time to push our disease even further. I first grabbed Drug Resistance 2, which cost a hefty 26 DNA. But this makes us even more effective in wealthy countries. And since I started in Europe, this ends up being a huge boon. Oh, I'm so glad I went with what I did. Look, Millions of people. Podcasts are infecting more countries. No! Say it ain't so. AB Polar, we don't need good hang. We soon cross the borders to both the UK and Spain, and planes fly out of France that infect both the US and South Africa. To try and spread throughout all of Africa, I immediately purchased the Insect 1 transmission, which is significantly more effective in hot climates. If we really want podcasts to become the most infectious disease across all of the world, I know what we need to add. Where's the true crime button, guys? Oh, we hit India. We hit India. By this point, we've completely infected France, and podcasts spread to countries across the world like Brazil, Mexico, and even Australia. The next upgrade I grab is to make podcasts more effective in hot climates. I'm hoping that this will tear through Africa and India, both of which would be a huge percentage of the population. We keep mutating symptoms, and I keep devolving them, as even though we've infected a huge chunk of the world, we need to stay in the shadows until our slice of pie is too big to fight against. I grab the Blood 1 transmission, which will spread us through some of the new poorer countries we've spread to. Oh, look at the US, they're so cooked. Oh, we hit Madagascar. That's the golden goose. And soon after, I grab Insect 2, as I realized we had already spread through most of the richer, colder countries, and I really need to hit those poorer, hotter countries. Oh, look at China. We hit Iran. Holy crow. This is going insane. No, guys, I think feeling we're hitting the critical mass. Upgrade to Blood 2, which unlocks a new special type of transmission, Extreme Henomatophagy. These special transmissions unlock when you're able to merge two separate upgrade lines. They are significantly stronger than their regular transmissions, so it's worth going for them whenever you're able. It costs a whopping 30 DNA points, but I decide anyway to rip the cord and give our bacteria hematophagy. This hugely expands podcast reach and rapidly infects every remaining country, except for 2 holdouts. First, despite being one of the first countries we infected, podcast has barely spread through Russia, and the final holdout might just be the most difficult foe this game has to offer. A lawless place that refused to stay infected playthrough after playthrough. That demon is none other than Greenland, with the only still completely healthy country left in the game. 6 billion people infected with podcasts, and the citizens of Greenland are just out and about, I don't know, pen birds? I know nothing about Greenland. Weeks go by, and even as Russia starts to fall to the influence of podcasts, Greenland stands there, completely unaffected. And things get even worse from there, as a scientist in Italy discovers podcast has affected some of the citizens in his town. And just a few days after his discovery, podcast is placed on a watch list. Now, I know it's usually the people who make podcasts who get put on watch lists, but this one's from the World Health Organization, and it just means the world is going to start working on a cure to my disease. If I wanted to destroy the world, I was going to need to do it quick. Upgrade podcasts to survive colder climates, and while the results seemed disappointing at first, just a few days later, I received the best news a little disease like me could ever hope for. Greenland had been infected. Well, that was great and meant that every country now had infected people in it. I would need to work quick to start the dominance of podcasts, as the cure had already reached 10%. It was time to just start ripping symptoms. And luckily for me, in infecting the world, I had saved up a huge bank of over 70 DNA. Insomnia, paranoia, paralysis, and full-on comas. First death from podcasts has been confirmed in the UK. Let's go! Oh my god, Talk Tua has begun! And of course, with podcasts in its final stages and Talk Tua drop, podcasts begin causing full-on insanity. Insanity makes the disease significantly harder to cure, as scientists pull their own hair out, even trying to function. Oh, it's over. It's over. Podcasts are everywhere. Could it be, guys? The Office Ladies is the #3 podcast in the world. We really need to get Greenland. Now, while our new symptoms have started killing millions upon millions of people across the world, scientists have recognized the mind-numbing and insanity-driving potential of podcasts and are focusing all of the world's resources on finding a cure. But despite their progress on the cure, it's not quick enough. People in Iceland are dying quicker than they're being born. Society in Sweden has fully collapsed as the country is dragged into anarchy. People across the world just gone into full comatose state, slowly going insane as Caller Daddy rings throughout their ears. Millions upon millions of people lie in the streets dead. But I noticed something. That the surviving scientists have now all rallied together, no longer individually working on a cure, but instead fighting against podcasts altogether. Talking over the hordes of people committed to recapping a murder documentary they saw on Netflix to get the cure to a whopping 50%. People are just not dying quick enough. Podcast genome fully sequenced. This is a huge breakthrough. No, they're at 70%. How do I stop them? But unfortunately, there was no way to stop this. You see, you get the majority of your DNA points as you infect other countries. And since pretty much everyone in the world had already been infected by this point, my DNA bank was left dry. I had no other options. All that was left to do was watch. No, oh, it's so over. It's so over. I didn't make it deadly enough. 75% complete. People are just not dying at all. Only not even 1 billion people have died from my disease. No, podcast was not that bad, I guess. It's 100% complete. No, they're distributing the cure. Oh god, we're cooked. We didn't even kill 1 billion people. Podcast, you stink. Oh no, everybody's being uninfected. Oh, it's over. It's over. Podcast has been eradicated. No, there's still time. Can't we get like Tucker Carlson on or something? Yes, I hadn't suffered an unfortunate loss as Podcast completely failed to take over the world. Before we get into my second attempt at taking over the world, I'd like to talk about the game that's taking over the world and the sponsor of this video, War Thunder. War Thunder is the most comprehensive vehicle combat game ever made, and now it's available for completely free on PC, all consoles, and even mobile devices. In War Thunder, you'll take command of over 2,500 tanks, planes, helicopters, and ships of 10 major nations, ranging from biplanes and armored cars of the 1920s to the fighter jets and main battle tanks of today. War Thunder is an immersive vehicle combat game where you use meticulously detailed vehicles fit with realistic graphics and authentic sound effects that put you right in the helm of some of the most powerful war machines of our time. One of my favorite features is whenever a vehicle is destroyed, War Thunder uses an X-ray view to show you exactly which components were affected and what led to the vehicle being destroyed. Use this to learn exactly how to target your shots against enemy tanks and take them out as efficiently as possible. So what are you waiting for? Join the worldwide community of over 70 million players today and delve into the incredible experience that is War Thunder. There's insane amounts of content to discover and no better game suited for fans of military history. And for console or PC players who haven't played in 6 months, for a limited time you'll receive a bonus pack containing the exclusive vehicle decorator Eagle of Valor, 100,000 Silver Lions, and 7 days of premium account. Use my link in the pinned comment or description down below and sign up for War Thunder today. And thanks to War Thunder for sponsoring today's video. So if I wanted to truly infect and take down the world, I would need a disease that was even more infectious than podcasts. Something that manages to slip its way into every piece of media we consume. Something that would control billions of people across the world for generations to come. Gooning. It's a plague spreading across the entire world. And I'm also definitely not going to start in France. The goon capital of the world. What is the goon capital of the world? Probably the United States, right? And with that, I had started my gooning journey in the United States, the goon capital of the world. All right, guys, we got a goon, and we got a goon fast. With the United States being an extremely rich country, I knew I had my work cut out for me there, which is why I spend the first 11 points I get to evolve Drug Resistance 1, which lets the gooning corrupt even those just taking over-the-counter ibuprofen for no other reason than you don't know how to wake up in the morning without 2 of them. Soon after that, I grabbed the rodent upgrade to hopefully infect the big cities of the states. We need like 2016 Reddit speeds of gooning. While I thought the US would be a perfect place to spread gooning, I get some pretty horrid news soon. 30% of US adults don't walk more than 10 minutes a week. That cannot be true. And while less walking means more gooning, it means less spreading of the gospel that is gooning. We need Overwatch tournaments, anime conventions, and by God, if it gets that desperate, Sonic fan meetups. I try to balance out my urban areas with the rural areas by evoking a livestock transmission all the way to level 2, which will affect rural areas significantly. And that seems to have a significant effect, as infection numbers in the US rise to the hundreds of thousands. But I definitely made the mistake last time of focusing too hard on one area first. Instead, I realized you want to infect every country just a little bit before ripping the huge transmissions. And to do that, I need to upgrade my air and water transmissions. Yes! The UK's gooning! Good. Oh, that broad's got a nice figure on her. I get some unfortunate news that ships have a new sterilization technique that's gonna make them harder to infect. This is gonna cause some serious issues later on, but for now, I upgrade my land transmission through Bird 1. I figure now that the gooning has hit the UK, land transmission should help it spread across all the borders of Europe, which coincidentally are all major boat and plane destinations. We hit Mexico! Let's go! No, Bulma arts everywhere! Gooning was finally able to start infecting some airplanes, and I simultaneously hit Canada, Russia, and Saudi Arabia. I continue on upgrading gooning and grab myself the Bird 2 upgrade. We got Australia, lads. Lads, we got Australia. Hi there. Just saw some art of a spider with the giant jugs. Upon grabbing the final animal upgrade, Rodent 2, I unlock Extreme Zoonosis, which will allow me to increase infectivity in all climates across multiple species barriers. That sounds insanely broken, so I save my DNA points towards that, while planes across the world spread gooning. But while tiny red dots appear in countries across the world, I can't help but think of the countries they're not appearing in. Now, while everyone knows that Greenland is the true golden goose of any Plague Inc run, you might not fully understand why. I mean, last time I played this game, I was 12 years old, chewing on my iPod Touch, barely understanding what half the words in this game meant. So Greenland is of course an island, which already makes it more difficult to spread, as the only way you can infect that country is using their ports. Now, the primary way you spread your disease to faraway countries, as well as most islands, is by using planes or boats. However, way more flights take off per day, dwarfing the amount of boats. However, unfortunately for us, Greenland doesn't have an airport, only a seaport. Combine this with the extremely low amount of ships that even go to Greenland, you've got a landmass that is gonna leave your disease unable to dominate the world most of the time. To counteract this, I purchased the Water 1 upgrade, that way I can start spreading across boats once again. I also grabbed the Extreme Zoonosis perk, which lights up pretty much all land masses. Oh my god, look at all the gooners! My god, it's like a furry Twitch stream. Can we get Greenland though? We need to hit Greenland. Oh, yes! Greenland's been infected. Huge. Let's create a bacterial shell to protect against all climates. But it's not all good news, as a doctor in Brazil soon discovers gooning, which means I gotta work fast. No, India, don't work on a cure for gooning! Trust me. Trust me, India. You do not want that. With progress on the cure happening quick, I make sure to purchase the genetic hardening ability to slow research speeds. This gives me enough time to spread the disease throughout pretty much the entire world with one exception. And no, it's actually not who you think. Angola, what are you doing? Not Angola, which is of course a southern African nation whose varied terrain encompasses tropical Atlantic beaches. I am praying to God we can infect you and destroy your labyrinth system of rivers and sub-Saharan desert. But despite Angola's resistance, I can't wait any longer, as the cure is rapidly growing and countries are beginning to shut down their airports. I'll just have to rip some symptoms and pray that Angola falls down along the way. And so it's time to spend the nearly 80 DNA points I had been holding on to. This time, instead of following the insanity route, I go up from coma and evolve total organ failure, which doesn't have these same cure-stopping properties as insanity, but, you know, kind of hard to research a cure when all of your organs fail. The first death from gooning has been confirmed in Canada. No, he gooned too hard! There's still 22 million people who are healthy. And gooning is ripping through the world, as in just a few days, there are over 200 million deaths. But because of the plague's severity, the pressure to develop a cure jumped up tenfold, and it jumped 15% in mere seconds. But as more and more people die, I suck in DNA points that I can then use for a genetic reshuffle. This sets back cure progress by 10%, which I'm hoping is just enough to get by and finish off the world. How are we doing? Okay, 55% of the people in the world are dead, but there's still 3 million people who haven't been infected. Where are these healthy people? It's like Angola, right? There's 400,000 people in Angola who haven't been infected. Okay, there's no healthy people in the world. Let's freaking go. Now that everyone had been infected with gooning, I can devolve my transitions for the DNA refunds, which I can put towards a genetic hardening too, making gooning even harder to cure. Die! Die! You've all been gooned! Oh, I think we got this, guys. I think we gooned this time. I think we've properly gooned. Gooning has its genome sequence fully sequenced by scientists. Oh no. Look how fast the cure is moving. Okay, people are dying pretty fast, I will say. And the cure has sort of stopped. I think that everybody died. Everybody who was kind of working on the cure is slowly starting to die. Oh, baby. Come on. Oh, the cure has stopped. Oh, we got this. Oh, we got this. It's a one game. Oh, it's over. You've all gooned too much. Project 34 has been successful. Gooning to eradicate humans. I always knew it would go down this way. Yes! Gooning has successfully eliminated all life on Earth. And we got our first achievement. Let's go. Oh, we are the Gooners. Gooners like to goon. When they goon, everybody was gooning. Wait, what do you mean I only got 3 out of 5 stars? Luckily, the achievement here only required you to win on normal or higher difficulty, and your rating doesn't matter at all. For our gooning win, I've unlocked our second of 11 diseases, the virus. For our virus disease, I decided to go with one of the most infectious and degrading plagues I can think of, Kusoya, which of course stands for taking your shoes off on an airplane. Viruses are pretty similar to bacteria in all honesty, with there really only being one major difference. Viruses will rapidly mutate different symptoms, which can make it rather hard to slip under the radar and use the sleeper kill method I used for gooning. This time I decided to start in Central Africa, mostly because I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing. To help with the spread there, I put all of the DNA points I earned at the start into Insect 1. But within just a couple minutes of starting, the quirk of the virus rears its ugly head. So he has mutated— No, absolutely not. Don't do that. Now, while you might think this is a good thing, as devolving would give us free DNA points, because of the way viruses work, it actually costs DNA to devolve symptoms. With how aggressive viruses are in mutating, this is basically putting our entire run on a timer. No, stop! No rash symptom. No nausea. 5 DNA points. That's a lot of DNA points, okay. No rashes. 6 DNA points every time I want to devolve this. Stop, I don't need anemia. Oh my god. Each time you need to devolve a symptom, it increases the cost of devolving. So now it had been nearly a year of in-game time and barely anyone had taken their shoes off on airplanes because I had to spend 27 DNA points devolving symptoms. The beginning of your run is obviously the most important part, as snowballing is key. And since I started so far behind, 2.5 years in, the cure is at 75% and I haven't even touched North America. I got boned, man. Alright, we gotta retry again. The virus would be truly the pathogen to break my brain as I fail at 10 attempt after attempt after attempt. First, I would try taking over the world with astrology, infecting the minds of people across the world with horoscopes that say you're too hard on yourself, but you definitely have potential. Unfortunately, because I'm a Scorpio, I do the same thing again and waste all my time devolving symptoms, preventing any real progress from being made. For my next attempt, I need to harness a true plague that has infected Steam's charts. Hundreds of lifeless asset flips where the secret of the game is that there are children's souls possessing another thing. Yes, for this run, I'd be spreading mascot horror games across the world. And this one actually goes pretty well. Instead of fighting against the virus, I lean into it. When symptoms start mutating and threaten to expose mascot horror games to the world, I just leave them. Even if your disease is discovered, as long as it doesn't mutate any lethality, no one's gonna take it seriously. This lets me instead spend my DNA points on transmissions to further the plague spread. However, because your disease is discovered a lot earlier, it means the countries of the world can respond a lot quicker once they find the disease problematic. For me, this meant that despite my disease having every single person in the world praising Baldi's Basics like the second coming of Christ until they die, I wasn't able to infect a single person in, you guessed it, Greenland. Because of that, they stay in their icy hell as the only known survivors of mascot horror games. Probably because their entire country has like 7 people in it, so I doubt they even have internet connection. Alright guys, this time we need to get Greenland. We need to target Greenland more than anything. What is there that is like attractive to Greenland people? What do Greenland people like? What is culture like in Greenland? Reddit. What is life like in Greenland today? Believe Greenland as well as North Canada. Alcoholism and depression. Oh god. Highest suicide rate. Oh my god. Dude, what the heck's going on in Greenland? Oh no. A wee bit on the chilly side. You know what guys? After reading all that, I think, you know what's something that's gonna infect Greenland? Joy. That's what they need right now. All right, Joy, let's go. Like just about everything else, Joy is made in China. But unfortunately, despite actually infecting Greenland with Joy for once, the USA and Canada are super resistant to Joy, which, yeah, that kind of makes sense. Because of that, the US puts all of their resources into developing a cure for Joy, which is kind of crazy because they already did that back in 1966. With that, Joy is eradicated, making my 3rd virus loss. If I wanted to succeed today, I need to create the most vile virus possible. The most evil thing I can think of. Something so terrifying that even the thought of it should be killing people around the world. British food, mashes and paste. Oh, we need more beans and roggy. My disease, of course, starts in the UK, and as such, the first ability I buy is Drug Resistance 1, as the UK is a wealthy country after all. We started putting mayonnaise inside of our cereal. Oh my god, all the British people watching this are gonna hate me. British food begins to spread. I can't think of anything more horrifying than that reality. Okay, we need to get stuff on planes and ships, I realize now. Because then once you have it spread to like in every single country, then you can make it like spread throughout the country more. My plan ends up paying off as the UK has tons of planes flying to and from it at all times, which lets me hit the most population dense countries across the world, as well as every single continent. I stay focused on water and air there for a while, till I've got a good base on a majority of the countries. Though despite having bought barely any transmissions, China just like immediately infects for whatever reason. I need to see some Greenland action, I need to see some Gascar action. I'm gonna need to see both of those things. Come on, Gascar! No, Africa. British Food Awareness Day. They do need a British Food Awareness Day. What if we put some sluggy nubbers on top of the puffy bobbers? Yes, we got Greenland. Let's go. We just need Gascar. Come on. Yes. Okay. Time to rip. With the major islands now infected, I rip a ton of abilities that will help my virus survive in different climates. I honestly got really lucky this time around with next to no symptoms mutating, which gave me a huge bank of DNA to use here. From there are tiny sleeper agents spread throughout every single country, desperately trying to counter your point that if British food isn't so bad, then why is half of their culture's food just Indian food? Eventually, I had infected just about everywhere besides Africa, but with the cure already at 18%, I knew I had to start ripping. So I just go straight for total organ failure and pray that the people of Africa will be snacking on toad holes before they all die out. And luckily, it goes exactly to plan, and in just a few weeks, British food has destroyed the world despite the world's best efforts. All because we just wanted some stinky mashers. Virus victory. And for our glorious virus victory, we unlock a 3rd type of pathogen, fungus. This time, before we load in, we've actually discovered some perks that we can add called genetic codes. These are like little attributes you can use to modify your attribute in game, earning a new one every time you beat a run. For now, I've just got one that lets you start with bonus DNA, and another one that will give me bonuses for starting in arid climates, so that's what I go with. Fungi are similar to our previous 2 pathogens, with the exception of the fact that they don't move very much, making it very hard to spread outside. I, of course, must name the disease after my other favorite group of non-moving fungal growths, League of Legends players. Like I just said, fungi have a hard time traveling large distances, like on planes or boats, so we'll have to use a couple new techniques in order to spread our spores. For now, I accidentally started my League of Legends journey in Australia, so I decided to lean into it and get Air One, which should help my little mushrooms spread in the arid climate of Aussie's desert. Now, because fungi have trouble spreading across ocean barriers, they have a unique ability called spore bursts. These are purchasable abilities that will manually spread your fungus to one random country regardless of where your disease is. I purchased 2 of them, which spreads my spores to Mexico and Germany. And with League of Legends now running rampant in Germany, that would explain why Pokemon Challenges hasn't uploaded in over a month. With those spore bursts having gone so well, I purchased 2 more, one of which pays off in spades. Oh, we hit Iceland, that is huge. And we hit South America, which is also huge. Because of all the spread we've had in the southern hemisphere, I decided to grab the warm environment ability to further our spread, mirroring these sweaty basements that most League of Legends players play in, while hoping to God their mommies made nuggies for dinner. Australia, still not that many people affected. Most of it is happening in Mexico, actually. But that Mexican spread ends up being more of a bad thing, as soon after doctors have discovered our disease, despite having next to no spread anywhere else. And Jesus, right after that, they already start working on the cure? League of Legends has infected the United States! Arcane dropped! No! No, don't be distracted by the imagined dragons! It's not good for you, it's gonna kill you! The main struggle of fungi is of course spreading across borders, which is why I put a ton of DNA points into bird 1 and 2, with hopes of birds carrying my spores across the thin lines of Europe or Africa. Luckily for us, after a rogue spore spreads out of control in Iraq, we can spread League of Legends both south through Saudi Arabia into Africa, and north into Europe with a short jump over through Italy. I really need to hit Greenland. Alright, Greenland Gambit! No, I didn't need to hit freaking Morocco. Why won't the US spread? Oh, because I didn't make it, yeah, I need to do this, duh. Unfortunately, the DNA price of drug resistance has risen so high, and by now the cure has already hit a staggering 50%. With no more DNA points to spend, once again, I just sit back in horror as Mexico is single-handedly able to find the cure to League of Legends, which is of course deodorant. But like most League of Legends players, despite failing spectacularly and not having a single ounce of fun, I wasn't ready to give up on League yet. I think it's pretty obvious to everyone watching that the major problem with my last technique was the way I utilize spore bursts. This time, I decided to start my League of Legends in Brazil and make my first purchase bird 1 to increase my land infectivity. This time, I also rip a ton of spore bursts immediately up front. This system basically refunds itself, as purchasing these spore bursts costs such little DNA, and infecting each country gives me a pocket of DNA. And while I hadn't yet purchased many transmissions that would be able to further spread my disease, I get some news that would mean I wouldn't even really need to. Very high levels of bird migration expected. Okay, hold on. We gotta go way into birds then. Putting everything on birds, baby. This skyrockets the spread of League of Legends, as just a few days later, we've hit the 100,000 mark. After finishing my first ring of spore bursts, I unlock a new ability, Spore Explosion, which spreads tons of tiny mushrooms to 5 different countries. Unfortunately for me, though, they all spread to countries that are like directly next to each other in the European Northeast. With the bulk of main countries infected, I put my remaining points into water too, to hopefully nail down those islands. But fungi just have such an opposition to spreading over the sea that it brings me absolutely no luck. Instead, what I have to do is just wait for the majority of the world's countries to be affected, then rip a spore explosion, and pray to God we can grab Greenland. Yes, we hit Greenland with the spore eruption. Huge. With most of the world now taken care of, I find myself in a situation you're gonna see a lot in this video, having 2 straggler countries, Canada and Russia. For whatever reason, excluding islands, these 2 are consistently the final stragglers of my runs. Even when starting runs with the express purpose of infecting them, no matter the pathogen I'm playing as, they always manage to evade me. To try and put a stop to this, I put all my remaining DNA points into cold resistance. Now, while this works and the freezing 2 fall to League of Legends, it means I've got next to no DNA left to actually start killing people, so I'm just sitting here hoping that I can take out 7 billion people with minor inflammation. On the bright side, though, I do manage to pick up a pretty obscure achievement. Stop Britain leaving the EU. Yes! Brexit canceled due to League of Legends! The way things are going right now, that seems like that could be plausible. But despite stopping Brexit, unfortunately, League of Legends just wasn't powerful enough to break through the billion death count, meaning that the disease is cured and we're forced to try again. If I was gonna infect the world with a disgusting fungus, I was gonna need to increase the power level I was working with. And while League of Legends was strong, I needed a plant that could grow anywhere. And no matter how much it was hated, it would continue growing back. A deadly parasite that brought nothing but displeasure. Yes, I was gonna need to harness the power of kick streaming. While randomly clicking around for a good starting country, I once again accidentally click a spot on the map. Oh shoot, where did I start? In the Balkan states. Okay, I know nothing about the Balkan states. You know, in hindsight, starting my run as kick streaming in this way is pretty funny, as this was just a random gamble that I had no control over. This time I decided the best way to spread kick streaming would of course be by water, seeing as 90% of the content on there is only legal in international waters. This time, instead of going for early spore bursts, I decided to save them and evolve my disease more traditionally first. Then, once I've outfitted our disease with some rodent and air perks, I can rip some fungal spores, allowing allowing kick streaming to spread to Africa. This method proves much more effective and lets me spread my spores to a large majority of the world while still having an entire ring of explosions left. It's much more effective to work in this way, as you can then use your final few bursts and explosion to hit those pesky islands that are usually just so hard to get. The second big change I make is actually a change I implement into all of my plague runs, and that's to rip our symptoms much earlier. It can be scary, but if you wait until absolutely everybody has been infected, then the cure will be way too far along by the time you actually need to start killing people. Finally, I realized it's much quicker to follow the top path down to grab organ failure, allowing me to cause massive death without breaking the bank. I don't know why I delivered that like I was in like a sponsored section or something, but I promise you there is no arsenic integrations coming up in this video. With all those changes implemented, kick streaming just decimates the world in record time with just one little problem. While nearly everyone is dead, Zimbabwe, Sweden, and Angola have barely been infected. But luckily for us, our Sweden problem takes care of itself. Nuclear explosion in Sweden, what? And while Sweden's bombing incident was a complete accident, Angola's is anything but, as they start bombing their own cities to prevent kick streaming from spreading. But you should really know better, Angola, as you never bring a bomb to a fight against a bunch of cockroaches. Yes! Kick streaming has successfully eliminated all life on Earth. Let's go. And with that, we had successfully won our fungal round, and it was time to move on to the NEURAX worm, a parasitic invertebrate that burrows its way into your mind, causing you to lose all motor function and serve solely as a host for the worm to consume. And I'm gonna call this Tommy's Pals. Tommy the NEURAX worm. Tommy is our first pathogen that plays significantly different from all our previous ones, as his transmission, symptoms, and ability tabs are basically unrecognizable. See, unlike a normal disease that just spreads through air and touch, Tommy's focused on spreading his eggs inside of human hosts so they can fall under his eternal power. Using my starting bonus DNA, I give Tommy the ability to lay eggs in the thousands per human host, and also upgrade his eggs to gain the ability to attach themselves to insects. This is going to be useful here as Tommy starts his plot for world domination in this home country of Brazil. And my god, is Tommy more infectious than any disease I've used before, as after just those few tiny upgrades, I've already spread to over 8 million subjects. If that wasn't strong enough, I'm exposed to Tommy's true power once I grab an upgrade I find in the ability lab, Trojan Planes. Tommy will occasionally take control of an airplane and give me the chance to send it anywhere in the world I'd like. Wherever I send this plane is guaranteed to become infected. If you couldn't already guess, NEURAX is far and away the strongest pathogen in the entire game. I send that Trojan plane right over to Greenland, meaning I won't have to worry about it, or really any of the other islands this entire run. I also make a small realization in this run that it's going to have huge benefits later on. For whatever reason, large amounts of flights are constantly leaving Saudi Arabia. Like so many. Like despite starting all the way in Brazil, still most of my flight spreading comes from Saudi Arabia. Keep this in mind for later. Once most of the world has been infected, you can see the final reason why NEURAX worm is such a powerful disease. You see, NEURAX worm has completely different symptoms to the other diseases we worked with before. As Tommy infiltrates the brain, we gain control of his victims, forcing them to fall into hopeless manic episodes where they don't know what else to do but spread violence around each other. Yes, not only is Tommy destroying minds from the inside, he's getting people to take each other out without even spreading to them. Soon, Tommy has caused the entire world's population to go blind and see vision. No one knows what's real and what's fake as Tommy slowly drags them into a catatonic coma and eventually has destroyed the entire world. Earth now just a shell of Tommy eggs. Human, an indistinct memory from the past. Everyone just now one singular being, a pal of Tommy. Our dystopian victory grants us access to the next pathogen, Parasite, whose description sounds exactly like the NEURAX worm, but trust me, it's different. But what better for our parasitic life form than everyone's favorite leash that we can't seem to get rid of, NFTs. On the surface, Parasite looks very similar to the base diseases, having all of the same transmissions, symptoms, and abilities as the bacteria. There are two major differences though. Firstly, you start with the world already knowing of your existence, meaning you can't do the traditional stay unnoticed and quietly infect everybody technique. Secondly, you don't earn as much DNA from DNA points. Instead, you have to get DNA points from DNA bubbles, and that of course means look man, if you came here for extra game knowledge, you are in the exact wrong place. For my NFT Parasite, I decided to start in West Africa. Why? Well, I've started to figure out that the best starting regions in Plague are either in the northern parts of Africa or the southern parts of Asia. Being able to use land travel to cross the Saudi Arabia and Iraq bridge, in combination with the insane amount of planes that come out of these regions, make this a giant boon for you. Also, many of the countries in this area are not considered rich countries, meaning you don't need to start off by purchasing the expensive drug resistance ability. Starting in Africa means I go straight to Insect 2. I also grab Parasite's special ability in Symbiosis, which lets my Parasite less likely to be noticed. No matter where I start and what the disease is, you'll notice that I always make sure to grab the water transmission perks as soon as possible to hopefully infect the normally hard to hit islands. This one isn't nearly as hard as it sounds to complete, because your plague being discovered is not necessarily a bad thing, as long as no one takes it seriously and starts working on the cure. Oh god, everybody's dying to NFTs, nobody realized. Oh god, this is the worst. Yeah, oh, it doesn't matter, shut down whatever you want, bud. NFTs. Let's go. Now we can do a prion. What is a prion? Prion is a misfolded protein that includes misfolding in a normal variants of the same protein. Prions are responsible for prion diseases known as transmittable spongiform encephalitis. Alright, that'll have to do. I have no idea what a prion is. Let's start in India today. Okay, this looks exactly the same as the other ones. The major feature of this disease is that it's slow, meaning that it takes longer for scientists to notice it, but also that it takes longer to react to new evolution, which is a long way of saying it's just a worse version of bacteria. This one goes really well, actually, with me having infected nearly the entire world with the cure still at 0 progress. Right as I think victory is assured, the scientists kick it into overdrive. Okay, and then organ failure. Bye-bye. And sure, let's go with his special ability. Complex tasks become harder. Oh no, did New Zealand shut down their airports? Oh, that's so cute. You should have done that months ago. I feel like we're not killing people fast enough. Yeah, what's going on? The cure's actually like kind of coming across really quickly. Oh, what the heck? They already developed a cure? Okay, comas. Try to recover from that. Okay, people are dying very quickly, but the cure is also being developed really quickly. Okay, this is gonna be really close, actually. We had to pull out all the stops. Actually, I might have to pull out one more stop. They came very close. Whoa. Okay. Oh, it's close. It's really close. Oh god. Oh god. No! No! Come on! Oh, dang it. I mean, I killed 7 billion people. That's gotta count for something. Tiki Wiki has been eradicated. No. This time let's do like my twisted my... Aww. Just so edgy and deep, you guys wouldn't get it. With my failures wearing on me now 5 hours into the game, I realized that I'm gonna have to open up my third eye. I was tired of losing progress time and time again, infecting the entire world only to see the cure wash away my years worth of progress in seconds. It was time for me to become the master of the plague, the bender of the illness, the arbiter of the unwell. It was time to unlock the true secret of Plague Inc, Saudi Arabia. You may have picked up on it already from the several references I've made in this video, but Saudi Arabia is like the god pick of places to start in pretty much every single disease. Not only is it right between 4 of the world's major continents, it also has more flights arriving and leaving than any other country, and a dense population of 70 million, making it easy to spread that disease and farm DNA points. And in addition to all that, it has an arid climate. That means by grabbing the air transmission ability, you can double dip, as it'll spread your disease around the arid climate and also make it more likely to get onto planes. All that to say that Saudi Arabia might just be the most important tool in a Plague Inc Pro's arsenal. That, and of course having the patience to play in slow mode, which I of course would never do. Yo, oh my god, so many flights out of Saudi Arabia. It's crazy. The other part of my plague routine I would master here is my focus on upgrading all of the travel transmissions first. Getting air 1 and 2, then water 1 and 2, and moving on to their broken combined quirk, extreme bioaerosol. Those should be more than enough transmissions to get us through most of the world's countries and spread throughout most of the world's poorer and warmer climates. Which is why the next part of the routine would be to grab both drug resistance abilities and then finally cold 1 and 2 so we can hit those tricky little Russians and Canadians. Once you've infected the world, it's just straight to organ failure. Finally, as you kill everybody off, use the rest of your DNA points to smack some genetic reshuffles to halt cure progress, and boom. On normal difficulties, these techniques will get you through like 90% of standard diseases. Unfortunately for us, the next disease we must master is anything but standard. In fact, this disease barely even resembles the rest of the game. The disease in question is of course the NEURAX, which asks us to spread a zombie apocalypse across the world. Yeah, you know, just a bit different than the other ones in this game. For this disease about spreading a plague that turns you into a lifeless monster only focused on a single objective, I of course name it rock climbing, which I feel like is only a joke you'll understand if you live in Southern California. I start my zombie virus in China, and dear God, these menus look different. This disease doesn't have one single thing in common with the previous, so I'm doing complete guesswork here. I noticed that in the transmissions tab, there are a few that spread my disease through saliva, and then in symptoms, there's one called hypersalivation. I figured that these must play hand in hand with each other, so I go ahead and use my opening DNA points to purchase them. Not really sure how realistic it is to try and take over the entire world by hoping a bunch of people spit on each other. My experience with pale, cold-bodied monsters really only extends to your mother. Okay, we just made people salivate more. I don't think that's something you could really notice. The NEURAX doesn't have any way of spreading onto airplanes, but I put my energy instead into boats. And dang, just a few weeks in, our zombie virus is spreading like wildfire. But on the flip side of that, our disease has already been discovered by scientists in China. China's already working on the cure! I mean, to be fair, this is spreading insanely fast. I tried just going on ahead with my standard spread methods like drug and cold resistance, but dude, they've already almost cured it! Alright, I gotta get these zombies moving, man. Let's up the infection rate. Extreme compulsion to bite and eat other humans. Okay, that seems good. We need to start killing people. I mean, I really need to start killing people in India. Apparently, they're leading the charge. Compulsion to bite or devour own body. Brazil, what's good? What? How are you staying alive through all this? Oh, we're cooked. It's over. It's over. This is absurd. It's what? This was so hard. Rock climbing, no. They've already cured. We need to eat people. We need to be eating people. And it's over. It's over. Not a single zombie has eaten a single person. I didn't kill one person. What happened to Brazil? I try running it back again with rock climbing 2, but the cure gets to 50% and I've only infected like 7 countries. This just keeps on happening. No matter how many times I try, the cure to my zombies shoots up in like 10 seconds and I don't even have the chance to mutate any symptoms. What I didn't realize at the time is that this disease plays extremely differently to what we've been familiar with. In fact, if you just try and normally spread your disease, you're gonna end up like I've been, with your disease cured before you even start. No, instead what you need to do is put most of your attention not to transmissions or abilities, but instead into symptoms. If you keep following the path through symptoms, you'll find one unlike any of the others: psychopathic reanimation. This is what's actually gonna turn your zombie disease into zombies. Since I wasn't evolving to that symptom, all I had been doing up until now was really just playing a really weak version of bacteria. With zombies now unlocked, our bar at the bottom changes from infected and uninfected to instead be about zombies versus the dead. You see, once people die from the necrovirus, they will then reanimate as a zombie. Instead of just infecting everybody in the world, we can make our zombies stronger to actively fight the remaining healthy people. If this sounds complicated, that's because it is. Learning the necrovirus is basically an entirely new game that just barely resembles Plague Inc. We'll encounter some other diseases that'll do this that I end up liking a lot better, but for my money, necrovirus is just insanely complicated in a way that I will never understand. The main thing you need to know is that we now have to worry about 4 groups: the healthy, the infected, the zombies, and the dead. ZCOM project activated in the Middle East. Okay, what the heck does that mean? And the ZCOM, I guess. ZCOM are the last bastions of humanity and will pop up once zombies have made a significant dent into the world. They serve to gun down the zombies and increase progress to the cure. To counteract this, I need to learn how to control my zombies. In the abilities tab, I find one called Horde Instinct. This is sort of similar to the Trojan Plains, except I can activate it whenever I want. For the cost of our 4 DNA points, I can mobilize my horde of zombies and have them attack a specific location. And right now, I need to send my zombies to tear down the walls of ZCOM before it's too late. It was too late. Like I said earlier, there's a difference between being a zombie and being dead. And even though the whole point of being a zombie is that you're coming back after you die, in Plague Inc, the process is a strict metamorphosis of healthy, then infected, then zombie, then dead. So what happens is after a while of not doing anything, my zombies just like rot away and die, I guess. Now, even though the whole world is dead, there are no zombies. That means I'm unable to gather up enough of a zombie army to tear down the ZCOM base, and thusly humanity survives. But this time, I'm coming at you with the Hunger 2. I mean, they always expect Hunger 1, but who's gonna see Hunger 2 coming? This time, I've got a tiny semblance of knowledge going into what I'm doing. I start off like before, just grabbing a few transmissions through blood and air. Then I just shotgun everything I've got into reanimating the dead. Before even strengthening my zombies, I'm gonna want to grab the zombie horde ability. This will allow me to send swarms of zombies to each of the untouched countries I have left, and have just a few zombies waiting there. This time around, ZCOM manages to develop the cure for Hunger 2 when I've only killed 2 billion people. But like I said earlier, the cure being developed is really not that big of a deal, as it doesn't really matter if you have a needle that cures you when a 7-foot zombie with club arms bashes your skull in. The key now is to send as many zombies as you can to each ZCOM base, as once you take them out, humanity is completely cooked. I managed to take down one of their bases, but unfortunately I just ran out of DNA points, meaning I have no way of mobilizing my zombie forces to the other bases. Just forced to watch in horror as my perfect zombie creations fade into the dust while those ZCOM jabronis just sit and watch. I mean, if you think about it, there's more zombies in the world than humans. Just because they were here first doesn't mean I've now slipped into middle-age imperialism talking points. Okay, time to load it up again, this time as who even cares? I Hungry, I guess. You know, I named it like that just to be like a silly variation of hunger. In hindsight, I Hungry sounds like an iPhone app that came out in like 2013 where you eat a burger, but then you like swipe to turn around and it's like a human or something like that. Is this resonating with anyone? Were you guys alive in 2013? Sometimes I fear that my audience is either younger or older than me, and I'm not sure which one. I go back to the saliva route for my initial try and then grab reanimation as soon as I possibly can. Once zombies start popping up over the world, you get tons and tons of DNA points for each pocket that forms, which I immediately spend towards getting my zombies the cranial elephantis quirk. This gives my zombies inhuman looking skulls that make them resistant to the foolish bullets of the evil ZCOM. The best thing you can do is send your zombies over to any ZCOM base the second they pop up. The longer the base has been around, the stronger they'll be, and most likely the weaker you will be. You're not going to be able to just beat them up with one wave either. In order to take out their base in the Balkan states, I need to first send millions upon millions of zombies across like 10 waves to eradicate it. But finally, I do. Now, whichever ZCOM base you leave for last is always going to be the strongest. And in this case, it was Norway, which was honestly really smart because they knew no one would ever expect the famously neutral and weak military force of Norway to actually know how to fight against the undead horde. Clearly not that strong though, as after sending over just a few more zombie hordes, I'm able to take them out as well. Which means that finally, after 2 hours of attempts, I had done it. I Hungry had taken over the world, and more importantly, I don't need to play necrovirus for a single second more. Well, until we move on to the Mega Brutal achievements, all the scenarios involving it, the co-op portions, and we've got just 4 diseases left, so it's time to move on to the nano nanovirus. The nanovirus is actually not a virus at all, but instead a really tiny robot with the ability to replicate itself. While a robot that could replicate itself without using resources would literally solve 99% of Earth's problems, we're gonna do as humans always do and instead immediately use this technology to see how many people we can kill. Yes, we play as this little micro robot, and we've escaped the lab where the scientists who made us are rapidly trying to find a way to activate the kill switch to stop us in our tracks. Because of this, similar to the parasite, evil scientists know about us from the start and have already begun progress towards the cure, or in this case, the kill switch. And to try and fool all the humans of the world to put this mind-destroying futuristic robot inside their head, I of course call myself the silly fun box. I mean, how could I be an evil automaton hell-bent on starting the apocalypse when I'm just so silly and fun? Slow the broadcast, right? My god, they're owning me. My god, how am I supposed to fight this cure? Yeah, grabbing the abilities for slowing the broadcast of the kill switch is absolutely vital when playing as the nanovirus, as otherwise you'll just be shredded in mere seconds. On the bright side, Silly Funbox also spreads incredibly quick. Once I had like 7 billion people infected, the virus mutates total organ failure, and from there it was curtains on humanity. For our final traditional disease, we've got the bioweapon, and for its name, I name it after the most hazardous biological weapon I can think of. Something that holds countless ecosystems within it, and merely touching it will infect you with hundreds of bacteria. I am of course referring to college dorm room navy blue fitted sheets. They haven't been washed since he arrived at this school 3 Septembers ago. Indescribable fast food crumbs fill the very cracks of the comforter's perforation. Stains on the bed look like they're from beyond this world. Humanity does not stand a chance. The bioweapon is somewhat similar to the nanovirus in that you were released from another scientist lab. Dear God! Can any of the scientists in this world, I don't know, use a little bit more caution when handling humanity-ending plagues? Also similar to the nanovirus, the bioweapon is on a timer. However, this one is not due to the cure. No, the scientist who released this beauty hasn't even realized what they've done. Instead, the timer is a slowly rising lethality bar. The bioweapon randomly becomes more and more lethal every single day, and you're racing against yourself to try and spread throughout the entire world before killing off all your available walking petri dishes. Luckily, to counter this, not only does the virus spread much quicker than normal, it also has various abilities that reset and slow the disease's lethality. Besides that, this plays very similar to most other diseases. In fact, it's one of the strongest in the entire game, especially on the lower difficulties. Except for the fact that I forgot about Iceland and accidentally left 80,000 people alive. Okay, running it back on the next attempt, one of the other huge benefits of the bioweapon is once you purchase all 9 lethality reducing abilities, you unlock a final Annihilate gene whose only description is to unleash Armageddon onto this world. Oh my god! People are dying quickly. Holy crow! Oh my god, it was Armageddon. So many people are dying. Holy crap, it was like 2 seconds. Oh my god. Oh my god, that was sick. With bioweapon completed, we had just 2 diseases left, both of which play radically different than any of the other diseases we've seen thus far. But those 2 diseases are some of the most difficult diseases in the game to not only win as, but mostly just to understand what in the hell you're even doing. So instead, before I head into such new and never before seen territory, I want to master the game's basics first, which is why next up we're going back to Bacteria and beating it on the game's hardest difficulty, Mega Brutal. Alright guys, if we want to truly conquer Mega Brutal mode, I think we have to go with the most evil, the most viral thing I can possibly imagine. Guys, this is, I shouldn't even be doing this right now. I'm a sicko. Alright, Saudi Arabia has really been doing me good, I will say. Start off with, boat, as usual. We're dropping Funkos all across the land, guys. Scientists had a breakthrough in the understanding of fevers. Okay, that's fine. That's fine, that's fine. Funkos shouldn't give you fevers. They might, because of all the microplastics you're nailing, but they shouldn't. Let's just start off small, you know, just some normal, recognizable Disney and Marvel characters. You know, that makes sense for a figurine line. All right, we hit India somehow. Festival of Love in India, that's sick. And the Festival of Love ends up being a gigantic boon for me as Funko Pops now spread across the world. Their bland, lifeless eyes entrancing all who happen to see them at GameStop. I grab all the basics from here, air, bioaerosol, cold resistance, before getting some upsetting news. Oh no, people have already discovered Funko Pops, oh god. Iraq is already starting to work on the cure, crud. Okay, now we definitely gotta go, should we go rats first or should we go cold resistance? I feel like let's go rats because we gotta hit the US. And to further my United States spread, I pick up drug resistance 1. Okay, come on. Can we hit Greenland? Please, baby. Come on. What do they like over there? There's gotta be a Funko for them or something. Yeah, let's go. Let's go. Oh my god, this is huge. Okay. All right. Come on. And the USA is slow too. What the heck? They love useless crud. Come on. Don't you want to buy a brown-haired Funko? He's from a TV show. You have to guess which one. With everywhere but Canada infected, but the cure at over 50%, I realized I need to just go full lethal anyway, so it's time to just rip total organ failure. Okay, we're feeling good. 63 to get total organ failure? Are you joking? 61 to get necrosis? What? Yeah, Mega Brutal is no joke. Like I explained earlier, each time you evolve a trait in a tab, the cost of everything else in the tab rises. And in Mega Brutal, that scaling rise is increased by a lot. Because of this, I'm completely unable to buy any symptoms with real lethality, and Funko Pops is cured with less than 10,000 people killed. So it was time to run it back again. Alright, I think a big mistake I made was I didn't start with flight last time. For whatever reason, I started with boats, which was stupid. Besides that, I go through my typical upgrade path, which works pretty well, and even manages to nail down my golden goose. Yes, yes, yes! 3 people infected in Greenland. This is huge. Okay. But none of that even matters, as before I'm even able to make any sort of progress in symptoms, the world has already cured itself of Funko Pops. I guess everyone realized that you actually don't need a piece of plastic to show you watched a movie once, and instead can just change your phone background. Run after run, I would just abhorrently fail time and time again, not even spreading to the whole world before the cure is developed. Not to mention killing people. Oh, there's certainly no time for that. My poor Funko Pops being thrown in the trash, just like the $30 million worth of product that Funko threw in a landfill. This isn't like a, oh, I'm right there and I just got unlucky. Like, I'm not even close at all. Miles away from victory. Instead of being the Grim Reaper of death like I should be, I was more like the fat Homer Simpson one. And the real reason I was failing was due to 2 huge factors. First of which being transmissions kinda suck. Yeah, a good majority of the things in this tab are pretty much completely useless. If we look under the hood of Plague Inc, we can see a lot of these transmissions give you barely any points and are really just here to siphon off your precious DNA. The other huge realization I make here is the power of symptoms. As I'm sure you've surmised by now, most symptoms have tons of other effects other than just increasing lethality. Some of them slow progress towards the cure, some have abilities that let them thrive in certain climates, but the most plentiful and by far the most useful ones are the ones that help increase transmission. Symptoms like coughing, sneezing, rashes, and many others actually give you extremely high amounts of transmission. Like, most of their actual transmission values are higher than anything else in the actual transmission tab. And not only are you gaining strong transmission, you're working towards where you'll eventually rip your core to lethality, allowing you to save massive amounts of DNA points. I still start each run with Air 1, as infiltrating airplanes remains a top priority. But from there, I evolve sneezing and pneumonia. The strongest set of symptoms in the game actually might be the next group I buy. Rash, sweating, and skin lesions. These 3 symptoms have insanely high levels of infectivity, but that's not the only reason they're so good. These 3 symptoms don't raise your lethality at all, and they unlock another one of the strongest symptoms in the game, necrosis. Necrosis, for those unaware, is basically when all of the cells in your body just decide to die. That is generally not very good, and as such, significantly increases the lethality of your disease. Not as much as organ failure, but it's actually pretty close. Necrosis also has 2 other benefits. One benefit is that it also increases infectivity by a large margin. In fact, it might be one of the single highest disease spreaders in all of Plague Inc. The second main benefit is that it opens up the path to hemorrhagic shock, which is also an intensely lethal disease. So if necrosis doesn't get the job done, we can just pull the lever on shock and finish the job. With all these tips in mind, I end up getting way closer, and I'm able to kill billions of people. But even with all those techniques helping me out, I mean, it is still mega brutal. Oh, I don't know. It's gonna be close now. I don't know if they're gonna be able to beat this, guys. Oh, I don't know. It's so close. Okay, there's gotta be something we can do. Internal hemorrhaging. Okay, that's gonna make us kill faster. Oh, the cure is working so... Oh, the cure stopped going up. Oh, it's still going up, but it's just going up slower. Oh my god, I think this is it. Mega brutal difficulty win. Come on. We're so close. Oh, it's neck and neck. No. Oh, wait. I have another genetic reshuffle in me. I didn't realize that. Oh, you're cooked. Oh, you're cooked. Oh, it's over for you. Oh, it's over. Yes. Please. Yes. Finally. Oh my god, a mega brutal victory. Funko Pops take over the world. Yes. This is what happens, guys, if you take them out of the box. Woo! Mega brutal victory win. Let's go. That was a tough one. Now that I've mastered the basic of Plague, it was time to head towards the last 2 pathogens I had yet to master. Only one small problem. You see, in my Bacteria Mega Brutal run, I was actually significantly artificially handicapping myself, as the genetic code setup I had been using was extremely non-optimal. To prevent this from ever happening again, I decided to just take the time to unlock every single genetic code, so I always have as many options open to me as possible. Now, like I explained earlier, you unlock genetic codes every single time you complete a run. So in order to unlock the rest of your required genetic codes, it would take nearly 20 runs. But I certainly don't have time for that, as I've got a girlfriend and a handicapped dog and 200 other Plague achievements to work on. But luckily for me, there's a workaround to this that's actually going to help us grab a ton of achievements over the course of the game. What you want to do is load in as Bacteria on casual difficulty. Play the game like normal until you get to the point where nearly everyone in your run is dead. Then save. Then just go ahead and beat the run like normal and unlock your genetic code. Plague Inc allows you to save and reload in the middle of a run. So that run we just completed, we can now load in again again and instantly win. This counts as an entirely separate win, and we unlock a totally new genetic code. Using this workaround, we can unlock all of the remaining standard genetic codes in less than 5 minutes. Save scumming is an extremely useful tool that I'm going to be using pretty much constantly throughout this run to help save time. And while we're scumming, there's another huge chunk of achievements we can knock out using this method: combos. We saw them a little bit earlier, but combos are basically these random events that can happen when you've purchased 2 symptoms, which will give you a tiny benefit. For example, if you have the vomiting and coughing symptoms purchased, there's a chance the projectile vomiting combo will mutate, which increases your disease's infectivity. There are a good chunk of these to knock out, so I came up with a pretty foolproof strategy. Load into a run and get some infectivity going until you're sitting on a huge bank of DNA. Then make a save. Then you can just buy whatever symptoms you need to make the combo and hope that you get the random chance for a combo to form. If not, just load and start again. Using this, I can grab the combos for projectile vomiting, walking dead, profuse bleeding, oops, public defecation, and then swine flu. There's also a second set of combos exclusive to Necroa's virus symptoms. Using the same method, I can pick up the combos Vampire Bat, Blood in the Air, Tank, Spitter, Boomer, I call your mom. Okay. Cranial Dispersion, Walking Contradiction, Runner, and Bath Time. The Necroa ones take much more time, totaling this entire process to around 2.5 hours. With all that out of the way, it was finally time to tackle the game's last 2 diseases. First up, we've got Simian Flu, which is actually a tie-in with Planet of the Apes. Huh? What's next? Plants vs. Zombies x Schindler's List? This one obviously is going to be called Monkey. Okay, this is monkey brains, this is human brains, I see. So we get to control over both. Oh my god, the symptom screen is confusing. This increases intelligence in humans. Monkey is a genetically modified virus created in a Genesis lab. It has successfully increased intelligence in apes, but has not been tested on humans. Okay. Why would I want to increase in human intelligence? Alright, well, let's start off with airports, obviously, as always. Despite being intensely confused and not really having a single clue what's going on, I let my plague instincts take over and try a standard water and air technique. Monkey escaped from Genesis lab. Genesis revealed that Monkey escaped from their lab in Saudi Arabia and pledges to cure it. Okay, they're trying to test on monkeys. Not exactly sure what's happening, but I think that this is good. There's a lot of monkeys stuff going on. A lot of monkey business, you know what I'm saying? Eventually, I discovered an ability very similar to the reanimation symptom from the Necroa virus. This one is called Simian Neurogenesis, and basically all you need to know is it makes monkeys smart. This also unlocks some more abilities like the Ape Rampage. Gain ability to rampage against human, targeting labs and rescuing captive apes. A group of apes have broken out of a private shell in Saudi Arabia and destroyed the Genesis lab, causing citywide chaos. Authorities weren't able to contain them and the apes escaped. Let's go! Ape escape! Destroy Jinsib lab slows cure research. Ah, I see. Reducing likelihood of being detected by apes. Apes plan and coordinate their travel together, allowing movement of apes over long distances. Intelligent apes can come together to build a colony. Oh, it generates DNA. That seems good. Increases DNA generated from colonies. Oh, that seems really good. So I can set up a colony wherever? Okay, I'm going to set a colony up in China, all right? I can only build one here for whatever reason. Create an ape colony to bring intelligent apes together. Awesome. People in China are becoming increasingly worried about monkeys. However, after some time, we're able to set up some colonies in surrounding countries, which increase in DNA costs for each consecutive one you build. Still have no real clue how apes tie into this all. It looks like my disease has infected a vast majority of the world. So by grabbing the Neuro Enhancement 3 perk, I can evolve the disease to cause total brain death, which, like, monkeys or not, I don't really think you're coming back from that. I just want my apes to, you know, start killing people. Global action grants apes agreed. No! The apes are taking over. Yay! Drones are targeting. No! I have a colony destroyed by a drone. No! The apes. Okay, can I just, like, kill people? The cure is happening, but does that mean that my monkeys are gonna get cured? Doesn't that mean my monkeys can still stand up? Oh, nope. It means the apes are gone. I was defeated. What? In case it wasn't already clear from whatever the heck just happened, the simian virus is far and away the most confusing pathogen in the game. Like, to the point that even now, as I'm writing this voiceover, I still don't understand it. Like, basically, your plague can affect monkeys and humans, but in different ways. You need to use monkeys to spread your disease, but your disease also transmits just like a normal disease. And it can also have regular symptoms like a normal disease. And monkeys are important too, and they can build colonies, but the humans want to destroy your colonies, and there are also these things called Genesis labs, and then those... I think the best way to describe my simian flu experience would be with this clip. Okay, I'm kind of confused about this, but I'm starting to get it a little bit more. Oh, okay, never mind. I have no idea what I'm doing. Every time I feel like I understand the monkey cold even a little bit, I learn of some new weird feature that confuses me even more. Like, by going on ape rampages, you can increase the number of apes in your colony town, and my plague has been cured again. But after spending hours just waddling around confused, I finally cave and hop into the Plague Inc Discord to ask what the hell I'm supposed to be doing. It actually helped me out a ton in understanding this disease, as well as the next one, so if you're interested in learning anything about Plague Inc for yourself, make sure to check out the link in the description and join. Now, the first thing you need to understand about the simian flu as opposed to all the other diseases is that there is only one single way to play this right. All the other diseases, you can kind of grab whatever transmissions you want, spread to colder climates first, then maybe warmer climates. No such luxury with simian flu. There is one specific set of actions you must take, which is never explained to you, by the way, otherwise you will lose. So here is how every single run of simian flu is going to go down. First up, you need to put all your starting DNA points into colonies. Now, this is one of the few places where you can have some flexibility with your monkey virus. You could set up East Africa, or if that's not quite your style, don't worry, you could also set up Central Africa. Your possibilities are truly endless. Why we have to set up in Africa, though, I'll explain in a little bit. From here, farm DNA from your colonies for a while until you can afford the perks that increase ape-to-ape transmission. This will allow you to start gathering up hundreds of thousands of intelligent apes. If any Genesis labs appear during this period, you must evolve Ape Rampage and use your apes to destroy the lab. Now, once you have a good chunk of DNA, grab the Ape Travel ability. From here, you can start migrating groups of your apes to other countries, and most importantly, to other continents. Eventually, my hard-working group of primates makes their way over to Brazil, and our apes can start recruiting the Brazilian apes. You need to continually migrate your apes to every single country in the world. This is going to take a long time, and is by far the worst, most boring part about being an ape, as sometimes humans will discover you, and then try to kill you. Sometimes it'll take your apes way too long to migrate. Sometimes only like 4 apes show up to the migration. Then, once you have apes in every single country, you then evolve your disease to be cross-species, meaning that your intelligent group of go-getter apes can now kiss a bunch of humans on the mouth and infect them instead. This will explode your disease all across the world. With the huge amount of DNA you get from all this, blast it all on transmissions to explode your disease throughout all of the helpless little Homo sapiens on Earth. From here, the disease plays out like normal, with you just purchasing transmissions and symptoms wherever you can. If you've done all that correctly, you should be able to just kill off any humans without worry. Unless, of course, you're like me. Okay, this is looking good. People look like they're dying like crazy. Wait, who's not infected? The Canadians. They might be dying too quickly. Okay, I think they're dying too quickly. So let us take out internal hemorrhaging. Oh no, they're not being infected at all. What's going on? Apes, come on. Do something. See if we can move our apes over there. To Canada we go, I guess. Yeah, why is it not being infected? I just have my apes just start killing people. So why can't I? Is it literally just Canada? It's just Canada. Nobody even has been infected. Sure, get them on freaking horsebacks. I don't know. We gotta start killing. Everywhere else is dead. Everywhere else in the world is dead. Yep, it's just Canada. It's just a Canadian issue. We've got 2,000 apes there. Defeat? What? Monkey has killed all its host, but I have smart apes. You're joking. Oh my god. You're joking. Upon running it back one more time, though, I'm finally able to grab victory as Monkey takes over the world. Ape kill ape and all that jazz. Now we've got one pathogen left, the Shadow Plague. In this mode, you play as a vampire. And I don't mean like how in Simian Flu we controlled like a group of apes or whatever. You are just like one vampire. And you fly around the map spreading your little influence as much as you can. Now with all the insanity that was Simian Flu, I'm sure that Shadow Plague is going to be just as insane, right? Requiring you to constantly be flying around as your little vampire self, balancing transmissions with your desire for blood. Maybe you can even only go out at night. Well, no, actually. As the optimal strategy for the Shadow Plague is to just sit and wait. Yes, seriously. On Mega Brutal Blood Servants. So first we gotta start in Greenland, right? And what we need to do is build up our blood oath, or our blood rage ability. And then after that, we start sucking the blood away from everybody here. See how it's generating DNA, which is really good. Now we're using our blood rage to slowly but surely kill every single miserable soul stuck in Greenland. And since these people aren't dying to disease, no one even really notices what we're doing and thusly doesn't come after our little vampire. I'm using all of the DNA I'm gathering up to upgrade the power of our soul-sucking blood rage. Once I wipe out every living person in Greenland, I purchase an ability that allows me to fly. I fly over to Iceland and start sucking souls over there. After like 200,000 people have died, the world starts to notice us. Which, like, really? It took you guys that long to realize that every single person died in Greenland. Irregardless, the Knights Templar set up their first base of operations in the UK. I wait until I've got enough DNA to fully upgrade my blood rage, letting me kill much faster, as well as killing, also healing my vampire. With my blood rage now at maximum power, my little bat boy can spread his wings and drop into the first Knights Templar base for a fight to the death. Time to hit up these Templar bases. All right. Killed that one. That one was very quick. Okay. Let's hit the one in the Balkan states. No one stands a chance to my vampire. From here, I can just go around silently taking out each and every Templar base. If I get too low after the fight, then I just go to a nearby country and suck some soul until I'm back up at perfect health. There's usually like 5 to 6 Templar bases around the map, and like ZCOM, the final 2 are always the hardest. All right, and start attacking this last base. Ooh, they're hitting us hard. They're hitting us really hard. Are we hitting harder? I can't actually tell. Ooh, it's really close. Oh no, we got him, we got him, we got him, we got him. Sick. Then there should just be one more Templar base over in Peru. Oh my god, they're sending all the troops to Peru. But it's not enough. Then we can set up layers, okay? Before we head over to take out the last base, I'm gonna set up a layer in Central Africa. Now let's head across the ocean, and then it's time to strike. All right, this is gonna be a tough one. All right. Ooh, they are cooking me. Oh my god, they're cooking me. Okay, I'm healing pretty good, but I'm not really taking them out. Oh my god, this is not going super well. They're barely even going down. But neither am I. Battle of Two Kings. Nothing's happening. It's like we're at a stalemate. I can't tell what's happening. I have no idea what's happening here. I'm not getting any DNA, I know that much. Are people even dying? After sitting there for, and I wish I was joking, 2 full minutes with the game pause, I eventually realized what I had done and can unpause the game and start the actual fight. Oh my god, we're going down so fast. All right, we gotta get out of here. Heal up a bit. They're regenning too, though, but it's okay. I gotta regen a little bit. All right, head on back. All right, come on. Oh, he's hitting me hard. These Templars are no joke. All right, get out of here. Thankfully, we have a layer here we can feed on. Layer destroyed in Central Africa. Oh, that's messed up. Head back there to the Knights Templar. Oh my god, he is hitting us and he is hitting us hard. Come on, Templar. Oh my god, we might have to retreat. All right, retreat. Heal. Thank god we have a layer here. Okay, back. Now that we've healed up, back. Hit Peru and hit them hard. Come on. I think they're going down. I think we got this. Yeah! Templar Fortress has fallen to the vampire. With that, the final Templar base had been taken out, and now no one stands in our way. There is no one left to protect humanity now. You are all completely doomed. Seriously though, now that the Templars have been defeated, it's pretty much impossible for us to lose this run. Now we need to head over to a country with a really large population, so I head straight to China. Here, we're looking to farm so much DNA that humanity has no hope of retaliating. For this, we're gonna need like 500 DNA. So that means we're just gonna sit here for a while. Like a really long while. Like 15 straight minutes of doing absolutely nothing but sucking holes. With all that DNA jingling around in our cloaks, it was time to fly around and set up a vampire lair in all 7 of the major continents. This unfortunately takes around 300 DNA points, which means we need to get back up to 500, meaning even more waiting. After another 10 minutes, it was finally time for our little vampire to strike. First things first, we grab the Shadow Blessing, which actually releases our Shadow Plague onto humanity. Then we buy a series of upgrades that will allow our vampire to spread the disease inside whatever country he currently resides to millions of people a day. Then finally, we purchase every single transmission in the game, as well as the Shadow Portal ability. With all that prep out of the way, it was finally time to crush the world with our disease. Now, every single country we visit basically becomes instantly infected. So all we have to do is fly our little vampire around to all the countries of the world, and the Shadow Plague infects them in no time. We can also use our Shadow Portal ability to instantly teleport to any of our layers, which makes traversing through the world much easier. Then, with all the hundreds of DNA I get from infecting the world, I can go through the symptoms path and buy the Shadow Slaves ability. This put anyone infected with the Shadow Plague into a permanent psychosis where they serve me. This actually counts as an alternate win condition, and instead of killing everyone on Earth, you just enslave all of humanity. This is obviously much easier, because you don't need to worry about the cure versus lethality versus infection rate and all that jazz. With that, all of humanity was infected and thusly enslaved, giving us the Shadow Plague win on Mega Brutal. Shadow Plague's actually a lot of fun, and I feel like they pulled off the alternate disease type best here. Now that we had completed every single disease at least once, all that should be remaining is the rest of the Mega Brutal achievements, right? Oh, dear viewer, if only. As we are not even 1/10 through all of the things that we gotta do here. Now it was on to what would end up being the largest time sink of this playthrough. Scenarios. Scenarios are basically like regular Plague games, but with certain contingencies. Sometimes the world has changed, like portals being set up around the world, or sometimes you need to play as an entirely new disease, like mad cow disease or swine flu. And sometimes you don't even play as a disease at all, and instead infect the world with things like joy, or board games, or more contagious than all of those. Commenting on a YouTube video that was uploaded 2 minutes ago that the YouTuber fell off. It's really funny, guys. Our first scenario is called Greenland International, and for this one, Greenland has finally constructed their very own airport. And not only that, they've become the center of international trade, with more flights soaring through Greenland's ports than any other country. Because of this, I of course start in Saudi Arabia. After realizing that that was literally the stupidest thing I could do, I start over, this time in Greenland. I evolved the 2 flight-based transmissions, and dear lord, I am everywhere! Yeah, this scenario is incredibly easy, as is actually just a better version of the real world, so I'm able to knock it out in no time. But unfortunately for me, just winning isn't enough in scenario world. No, here you actually need to earn the max rating of 3 biohazards. Now, while this means we can play on an easier difficulty, this ends up causing me so much pain. Oh my god! Like somehow more pain than anything else in this entire playthrough, causing me hours and hours of struggle as I desperately hope to be released from my illness-ridden dome. The amount of biohazards per round is based on your score. What determines your score? Seriously, that's hilarious. The main factor that affects your score, though, is how long it takes you to win. The less in-game days, the better. Usually you need to try and shoot for around 400 days if you want any shot at getting those 3 biohazards. The cure progress also affects it, but in my experience, it's not nearly as important. After achieving success in 448 days and... failure. So I try again. Failure. And again! Yes, finally. Oh my god, okay. And with my victory finally grabbed, it was time to move on to the next scenario, fake news. From wild conspiracy theories to election camping, mudslinging, we live in a post-fact world, ain't that the truth? Where false misinformation can spread just like a disease. In this radically different scenario, you'll create your very own fake news story and shape it using all the modern tools and psychological tricks at your disposal. Can you deceive the world? And seeing as every single customer service rep I've spoken to for the past 10 years has thought I was a woman, I think deceiving should be no problem for me. Now for my fake news. I need to convince the entire world of something that was completely stupid. Something that there would never be any reason to do. But at the same time, I didn't want to be too unbelievable, which is why I go with pee in the sink. Guys, I'm starting a campaign here. Welcome to the fake news scenario. You're going to deceive the world and make them believe it anyway. You must all pee in the sink. I promise it's healthier. You gotta start in Saudi Arabia. Well, what is all this? These are the various ways we can classify our fake news story. You've got options to fabricate a historical event in a Mandela effect style mass misremember. You could falsify a smear campaign against a certain politician. But for pee in the sink, of course, this is purely a traditional issue. It's time to break the tradition of containing us to the porcelain throne. It can be hard to aim with the toilet so close to the ground. Why not just use the much more elevated sink? Now is the time for change. Oh, who do I want this to be started by? The racists? No, the kick streamers are not behind pee in the sink. Instead, big tech has manipulated your minds. I mean, I'm sure everyone's aware of their plot to turn our minds into pure mush by requiring Geminis to summarize out 2-paragraph emails to you. So turning us all into sink-peeing heathens is really just the next step in that process. Well, how could they possibly convince people to pee in the sink? Well, do it, of course, to undermine democracy. I mean, have you ever seen a president pee in the sink? Which is exactly why we'll be blaming politicians for this one. I mean, the president's too busy getting peed on to pee in the sink. No way that makes it into the video. No way that makes it into the video. And if you pee in the sink, you will become fully free from the government. Pee in the sink, manifesto complete. Motivation, undermine democracy. To win, pee in the sink needs to deceive the majority of the world. People who realize that pee in the sink is false will become informed instead. No! Oh my god, people are so informed on not peeing in the sink. This is not good. Now, as you've probably already surmised, this scenario plays absolutely nothing like a normal disease. The normal tabs have been replaced with growth and adaptability. I start off by mutating my pee in the sink plan to grow by word of mouth. Just one of those backyard rumors you might hear that actually makes no sense. TV targeting, the internet, print targeting. All right, I'm gonna run Facebook AI ads about peeing in the sink. I think that's my strategy. Fund teams target users of social media with data-driven ads. Yes. Bot network. Oh, we can populate this with bots? Yes, bots. Let's get as many bots as we can. Oh my god, everybody is believing in sink pee. That was absurdly easy. That was absurdly easy. Just get more bots. Dead internet. Community development. Become part of a lifestyle and develop emotional bonds. Yes! Increase the community. The sink peers. Let's make sinks that are made for peeing. But my next purchase would truly be the one to send me over the top. And let's get some influencers on this, y'all. Welcome back to Slop Live. Today's Slopic. Should you be taking a urination in your sink? Now, this is what's gonna push us over. My main focus is really creating a community around the sink peers. So I put all my big tech money into that. But despite the huge amount of virality behind my campaign and loving community I've created, I've neglected making this conspiracy actually believable, which is our news story's final strat. But all that changes once I onboard a politician, convincing him to promote the very scam that intends to take him down. Like a snake eating his own tail. Oh, Saudi Arabia's fact-checking me? No, but so many people are deceived. Oh my god, this is crazy. And soon after that, we form our very own political party. The sink peers of the world. We're bipartisan, so everyone can enjoy the pleasure of dripping your urine down your tall pipe. This works in spades, as the single carrier pigeon that delivers all of Greenland's news gets word of this scheme, infecting one of our hardest targets. The biggest thing you're fighting against in this mode, besides the smell of course, are the fact checkers who are essentially the stand-in for the cure. And despite all my progress, it really looks like the fact checkers are gonna win there for a second, as millions and then billions of people are becoming informed per day. But then it's time that I pull out my final trump card, misinformation merge. By using this, I can latch my pee in the sink fake news story with another separate fake news story. Probably something about those people who say that running a vending machine will earn you $200,000 of passive income a month. From there, it's pretty much a bygone conclusion, as every single person becomes indoctrinated with the knowledge that they should be peeing in the sink. Toilet manufacturers go out of business as people refuse to touch the disgusting devices. And then And victory is all mine as I get 3 biohazards on my very first attempt. Unfortunately, we're not quite done in the world of fake news though, as certain scenarios will have extra achievements correlated to them. And in the case of fake news, we need to now beat this on the second hardest difficulty. This time, my campaign is started by cats, which are trying to get the world to believe that dogs are actually just really fat rats. This works incredibly easy, and I take over the world in no time flat. Yeah, as I'd realized later on in this video, for whatever reason, this scenario is like so mind-numbingly easy, it's basically impossible to lose, even on the hardest of difficulties. Our next scenario is another radically different plague, and this one's to create the ultimate best-selling board game. My game will of course be called Oopsies, which is both legally distinct to and functionally identical to Sorry. I start my company in Germany, as I can't think of anywhere else in the world that has quite as much to be sorry for. Next, it was time to design our board game, which of course will be a dice-rolling competitive game where everyone holds grudges. The main theme of my game will be strategy, because unfortunately they had no category for random gambling that makes your dad have to take a walk outside. Admittedly, this scenario is not all that interesting though, and just like weirdly on the rails and very complicated. So I'm just gonna gloss over all this and let you know that I end up becoming a best-selling board game in just 738 days, which apparently is enough for 3 biohazards. This scenario also has a ton of combo-related achievements. Basically, by creating a board game that has the same design properties as another famous board game, you can earn that game's achievement. So by making a dice-rolling, knowledge-based board game, we can get the achievement for designing Trivial Pursuit. This goes on for every single other board game you can possibly think of. But let's take a break from all this scenario farming and instead head back to our normal plagues and try and tackle our second mega brutal disease, the virus. Everybody's gonna be infected with the stink butt virus. But everyone was not gonna be infected with the stink butt virus. In fact, securing this victory would take a good amount of attempts. The biggest problem you'd run into in Mega Brutal are the fact that the cure moves incredibly fast and countries shut down their borders a lot quicker. Dude, what the heck? We didn't get Sweden. Sweden, no! Never been undone by Sweden before. That's just embarrassing. But there's truly a first time for everything, as Sweden keeps its borders closed and develops the cure, becoming the sole survivors of the apocalyptic wrath of stink butt. The main problem with virus, as opposed to the other diseases, is of course the constant mutating, which either means your disease is found out earlier and the cure does you in, or you spend all your DNA devolving symptoms and you don't have enough DNA to make your virus lethal. However, in the grand scheme of things, virus isn't all too hard, since for the most part, it's just like normal bacteria. This only ends up taking me an hour, and then I end up successful. Also, while I take down each disease on Mega Brutal, I want to add a little tier list for you guys so you can have a good grasp on how each disease is. This list is only going to be referring to normal victories with the diseases on Mega Brutal difficulties. And for bacteria and virus, they'll both go into the fine tier. These two are truly the baseline for us to judge all other diseases at, since they're really just normal. And being honest, virus is probably a little bit better than bacteria, since mutating is actually a good thing a lot of the time, but there really isn't that much difference between the two. Now it's time to move on to our next disease, fungus. And before we actually get into the run, I want to take a second to show off the genetic codes that I'll be using for basically every single disease. For our DNA slot, I pretty much always go with ATP boost, which lets you start with 8 additional starting DNA. The slowest part of a Plague Inc run is always the beginning, so having 8 DNA to start your pathogen spread is incredibly important, especially when you're trying to go for a high biohazard score, as not having this could easily add on like 3 extra months to your run. Next up, for the mutation gene slot, I usually go with genetic mimic, which makes your disease harder to cure. This one's just a no-brainer, as fighting against a cure is tough enough, and will become even tougher with the later code we'll take. The travel gene slots have tons of different ways to increase the spread of your disease, but going with Aquasite is usually the right decision. Aquasite increases the transmission of your disease going across the water, and as you may have picked up by now, hitting the islands that only have seaports is what makes you lose like 90% of runs, so the easier time your disease can spread by boat, the better. Environment genes is where we get a good amount of variation, especially across specific scenarios, as these codes increase your infectivity across different environments. Most often I choose Herbophile, as there are a ton of tough urban countries to spread across, though a lot of the time I will also just choose Extremophile, which just gives you a smaller bonus across all environments. Finally, we have the evolution genes. The first 2 codes here are entirely useless, especially because the last 3 are some of the most powerful in the game: Symptostasis, Transstasis, and Pathostasis. These 3 codes obviously correlate to the 3 tabs, and each of them make their respective tab not scale within itself. That means with Transstasis, transmission costs won't increase when purchasing them. This is insanely helpful and can help you save like nearly half the DNA you would otherwise be spending. Most of the time, you're going to want to go with Symptostasis, as you can just grab tons of symptoms that will increase infectivity, but depending on the disease, sometimes you need to go with one of the other 2, and funnily enough, fungus is one of those times. Since fungus requires you to purchase an influx of spore bursts, Pathostasis, which decreases the cost of abilities, is incredibly incredibly valuable. This keeps the cost of each burst to just a single DNA, letting you infect those tricky island nations significantly easier. Now, if it wasn't obvious from my normal mode playthrough, fungus is not very strong, at least in the traditional game. Having to really just gamble on where those spore burst hits can be insanely frustrating. You don't want to rip them too early and miss out on the otherwise impossible to hit islands, but you don't want to wait too long either, as then your disease will just spread too slowly. After about an hour of tries though, I do finally manage to get a run that is barreling towards a win. We're really close. Oh, it could go either way. Come on. Yes, genetic reshuffle. Okay, that should help significantly. Okay. How much we need for the next one? 34, okay. Oh, there's gotta be something we can refund. We just need 2 more, come on. Oh, we just need 2 more points. Wait, no, what? I reshuffled it though. Oh, okay, it actually went through. Okay, sick. Oh, come on, we're so close. No, I think we're screwed. Yeah, unfortunately for me, I just barely miss out on victory with my fungus completely eradicated. I play for another hour, but finally get a run that makes it to the end. For this one, I tried a pretty controversial strat and actually ripped my spore burst incredibly early and just prayed that natural transmission would hit those islands. I don't know how good of an idea that is, but it ends up paying off this time around and I secure the fungal victory. Fungus is a pretty interesting disease because you actually do have some control as to when your disease spreads due to your spore burst. This makes it incredibly good in some more specific scenarios and also when shooting for high biohazard scores. However, just in terms of Mega Brutal, I think it's definitely a step down from the previous 2 diseases as its normal spread is just so poor. With a few Mega Brutal diseases taken care of, it was time to knock out some more scenarios. People no longer believe in science, popular opinion has shifted against truth and towards alternative facts, but when a terrifying new plague unleashed, ginkgo tree extract, healing crystals, and snake oil can only do so much. This one's another incredibly easy one, with your plague spreading quicker than normal and the cure progress being a lot slower. Apparently, the last remaining experts of the world tried to create some sort of super science utopia in Egypt, but that was quickly snuffed out by just the raw power of the common cold. However, getting 3 biohazards on this one actually took me a good number of attempts. While I would win on almost every single run, the super science utopia would usually slow my progress down enough that I ended up being too slow and just over the day limit. Next up was the mad cow disease scenario, which is another custom setup. Welcome to the mad cow disease scenario. You are a misfolded prion, able to infect cattle and spread throughout the consumption of beef. Humans know your symptoms from the last outbreak of BSE, so be careful. I feel like I'm gonna have to go through a lot of farmland, so I'll start in Russia. There are unique things. Oh, wow. Oh, there's a lot of unique stuff. I end up axing that file, though, and starting one in the United States, as the opening transmission that we're forced to buy makes the disease do a lot better in rich countries. Like the beginning said, we've already got a set of symptoms we start with that the real mad cow disease actually had. In addition to that, once we're found out, it's gonna be a lot easier to cure us. I grabbed myself the pork transmission, which means now mad cow disease will spread through both beef and pork, which I mean doesn't really make it much of a cow disease, but hey, if I wanted to spend time with a bunch of mad cows, I'd just go to your mother's book club. Next, I mutate meningitis to spread through dairy products and even birds and fish. And while this does do an excellent job of spreading my plague throughout the United States, unfortunately, since my disease is spreading exclusively through meat consumption, the vegetarians are completely unaffected. To grab those pesky leaf eaters, I changed my disease to spread through wheat consumption. Then after ripping avocado and rice transmission, it was time to focus on some symptoms. Inability to focus, that seems good. Delirium, that seems good. Insanity, that seems good. Extreme compulsion to bite and eat other humans, oh my god. After hitting Greenland, it was time to turn people into mad cows themselves and start a world full of cannibals. And despite the cannibals quickly taking over the entire world, one bastion of hope seems to shine through. Kazakhstan, which somehow has been able to not eat any meat, rice, wheat, fruit, or vegetables. So I guess we got an entire country of rock suckers on our hands. I do manage to create a sushi crisis in Japan though, which earns me another achievement. Eventually though, Kazakhstan can't resist the allure of, well, I mean, I guess any food, and they fall too, which gives me the victory. Unfortunately for me though, Kazakhstan's holding out means that I missed out on the 3 biohazards I need. This ends up taking me about an hour to accomplish. I don't feel the need to go into detail on this one since you guys pretty much saw the gist, but I do want to take a second to point out that beating mad cow disease on Mega Brutal, while not required for the 100%, is one of the most difficult challenges in the entire game. It requires an insane amount of luck, mostly because it's a prion, which is already one of the worst diseases, where people already know about you is just about the worst combination you could ask for. If you're interested, I've linked a video in the description by PRAVUS that you should check out because, dear lord, am I glad I didn't have to do this. The next scenario isn't particularly notable, it's just called Flight Club, and basically just adds a bunch of airports all over the world with no downsides, which, like, yeah, makes this incredibly easy. After that is Where Is Everyone? Almost everyone in the world has mysteriously vanished and nobody knows why. The rapture? Mass abductions? This scenario plays out with there basically being dramatically less people in the world than usual. This, of course, means the world is just filled with lonely people, so I, of course, named my disease the only thing that appeals to every lonely person I've ever met. Well, there's only 300,000 people in the world. I guess that's the player base of Overwatch 2 anyway. Despite the lowered population count, I stick to my typical plan, which goes really well, and I win in just under a year. However, due to the lowered population count, the time limit for getting 3 biohazards has been dramatically lower, meaning you really need to crank to succeed. I tried for about 40 minutes to get a win here with no avail. But it's then that I had a huge realization that would help me clean out these scenarios much quicker. Why the heck am I playing on bacteria? I kind of have this thing in games where, like, the first time I try something out, I want it to be as vanilla as possible. Like, there's no worse feeling than when you join some survival server with your friends and he's got, like, mods on that gives the witch doctor, like, huge cams. But for the purposes of scenarios, it would be much easier if we went with, I don't know, like, any other disease. So I decided to drop in with bioweapon, and yeah, I beat it in 5 minutes. Next up, we've got Santa's Little Helper. And in this scenario, the world has become gloomy and gray, so Santa decides to team up with the NEURAX worm to infect everybody's minds and turn their brains into gleeful little joy machines. This, surprisingly enough, is not just a NEURAX worm run, but is actually a custom scenario. I start off by giving my worms an emotive radar, which lets them use telepathy to locate nearby humans who are sad and lonely. I send Santa's sleigh across the world, infecting countries with small amounts of whimsy. Eventually, I make my worm force its host to post selfies on the internet, which attracts other people to want to visit that country, because it just looks like so much fun. I conceptualize that this must be happening in the real world too, which explains why every white person you know is planning a trip to Japan soon. The NEURAX worms also soon push people to lose all self-control and make people do things they wouldn't normally do, which, you know, is making me feel like this might not be such a good thing, Santa. But all that doubt flees my mind once I get the next update. Greenland becoming happy. Nice! It only took a mind-numbing, brain-controlling parasite, but the people of Greenland are finally happy. With that, I'm successful as joy completely takes over the world. The next scenario is themed around portals, where everyone in the world can teleport to wherever they want. All that really means for us is whenever the plague starts to ramp up, a bunch of people are gonna teleport to Greenland. Counter this, I just start my disease in Greenland. Bet you guys didn't see that coming. Oh my god, there's 2 billion people in the Caribbean. How do they even have enough room? People are going to Madagascar now. I mean, I know the Caribbean was dealing with over-tourism, but I never knew it was like this. Luckily for me, though, I've taken the hint and decided to play as the strongest disease in the game, NEURAX worm. So it really doesn't matter how many people are hiding in the Caribbean, as one Trojan plane just obliterates every single last one of them. Really can't fight the NEURAX. Deciding to actually choose as a specific virus to play as has made all these scenarios much easier, as I blast through the artificial organs one as well as the revert to caveman scenario in just a few minutes. Next up, we got the Nipah virus. This is actually based on a real disease, if you didn't know, that can be transferred to humans from animals and has caused mass panic in certain parts of India. Yeah, you know, sometimes you'll actually learn things on my channel, okay? How about that? This one is another scenario where all the tabs reflecting on the real-life disease, mad cow disease. Not too much to say on this one, except for some reason I called this virus furries, a joke that past Shawnee must have found absolutely hilarious, current Shawnee doesn't understand, and future Shawnee won't be able to hear over the zipping of my kangaroo fursuit. Our next scenario is a completely normal one, except for the fact that you don't get to choose where you start. Not like that really matters though, when we're a NEURAX worm and can just stroll to wherever we want and infect a new country. I'm sure you all understand how most of these scenarios go now that I've realized the gospel of the NEURAX worm, so I'm gonna skip past the rest of them. I honestly feel kind of bad. Like, a lot of these scenarios are super unique and would usually make the game much harder, but like, we're the NEURAX worm, so come on, it's really easy. With that, I finish off my final scenario, Xenophobia, and now we've completed every single scenario, earning me this Scenario Master achievement. Just a side note, the achievement was actually glitched and didn't unlock until I restarted the game, and this gave me like a minor heart attack for like 5 minutes. And with that, we should be done with these scenarios, right? Right? Let me just type in scenario into the achievement screen and, what are these? 3 achievements that require you to beat 3 of the scenarios using every single disease and score 3 biohazards. Oh, well, that doesn't sound too hard. I mean, I already know. No. Why is the scary Dark Souls music playing? It can't be. Oh, please, God, no. No. Oh my God, I'm so sick of doing this, man. Just spread already. Just spread. Please, just let it end. God. Why would they even add this achievement? This is so stupid. I'm just waiting for boats that are never gonna come. These 3 achievements are, without a doubt, the hardest in the entire game. Hell, they are some of the hardest achievements in any game I've ever played ever. These 3 achievements took me longer than the entire rest of this playthrough combined. In fact, even just one of these achievements took me longer than everything else you've seen so far. They are more than hard. They are worse than evil. These 3 achievements are the spawn of Satan. They're the true Antichrist, pushing me to my very limits and single-handedly delayed this video by 6 months. Lava God, Super Sparrow, Mr. President. 3 curses I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. Okay, it's about time I actually explain what any of these scenarios are. All 3 of them are essentially the same, but let's start with the easiest one, Volcanic Ash. Volcanic Ash is so easy, in fact, that I'd really call it a warm-up for the other 2 scenarios. And it still took me 9 hours. In this one, massive amounts of ash have been injected into the atmosphere, which grounds a ton of flights. All that really means for us is a lot less planes are taking off. And I mean a lot less planes, like, oh my god, where are all the planes? This proves to be a pretty big issue for me, as air transmission is how I ended up spreading like 90% of my usual plague. I started off with bacteria, and keep in mind, not only do I need to be playing on normal mode, but also earn 3 biohazards. Due to next to 0 flights taking off, I put all my attention into sea travel instead. Boats in general are pretty scarce in Plague. I would say there's not even like an 1/8 as many boats as there are flights. And despite ash grounding all flights, it doesn't add boats to compensate, which means that infecting other countries is much more difficult. Because of the difficulty I run into while infecting, it means I need to put a lot more resources into symptoms to actually get the disease across country lines. This, of course, makes the disease much easier to notice, and of course means the cures develop faster. But despite the added difficulty of this mode, it's still not all that hard. I get each of the normal diseases in around an hour. Of the traditional diseases, the one that takes me the longest is of course Prion. This is because, spoiler alert for the rest of this video, Prion is the worst pathogen in the entire game, by a significant margin. No, what actually takes up most of my time in this scenario is learning the routes of the 3 non-NEURAX special pathogens, Necroa, Simian, and Shadow Plague. You see, while all of these pathogens are incredibly strong, well, I should say most of them are incredibly strong, their strength comes from their power and consistency. However, their optimal techniques, as we saw with Shadow Plague, are usually extremely lengthy, and combined with our neutered amount of growth due to lack of planes, spreading quickly can be very tough, which means a win isn't always that hard, but grabbing 3 biohazards can be. The one I struggle with the most this time around is Necroa, which surprises not a single person watching this video. I do attempts for 3 straight hours, failing again and again and again, before just deciding to learn the optimal strategy for beating Necroa quickly. The technique is somewhat similar actually to the one we did for Simian, but just a tad bit of variance. Pick your starting country, and then put every single last DNA point you have into getting cytopathic reanimation to unlock zombies. From there, you need to put all of your DNA into getting the zombie horde abilities, and most importantly, grab the level 2 horde upgrade. From there, make sure your speed is on as slow as it can go. Pause the game and send a horde of zombies to each neighboring country from your starting country. Because you have the 2nd level of horde upgrade, the game will always send around 40% of the zombies you have waiting in a country. This means some zombies will always remain in your country of origin, meaning you can effectively put zombies in every single country in the world. Every time one of your zombie hordes arrives at a country, immediately pause the game. Send out hordes to all of the neighboring countries that your zombies have just arrived in. Because you'll be infecting a new country, you'll get some DNA points which you can use to send out more hordes. Then rinse and repeat until every single country in the world has some sort of zombie hanging out. If it wasn't obvious, while this is really quick in terms of in-game days, which is what affects your score, it is so incredibly long in real-world time as you just sit there painstakingly moving zombies to countries and pausing over and over again. Once your zombies have gone global, just rip a bunch of symptoms to make it so that they infect every single person in their home country. This should be easy as you now have a ton of DNA points saved up. Now the only thing to look out for are these ZCOM bases. Make sure that whenever they pop up, you are swarming them with as many zombies as you can. As ZCOM grows stronger, the longer that they are around. If you haven't noticed, this strategy doesn't rely on planes and boats at all, which makes it the perfect fit for this scenario, and finally grants me the Necroa triple biohazards achievement. Simian goes pretty well for me this time around, but the same cannot be said for Shadow Plague, which ends up taking me the 2nd longest of any other volcanic ash pathogen. The strategy for Shadow Plague is very similar to the one for Necroa. Upon first starting out, you grab the abilities that let you fly as a bat, and also the symptom that lets you spread the plague wherever your bat goes. Once again, you keep the game speed on its first setting, and keep pausing and unpausing as you travel between every country in the world, placing just a few infected in each. This strategy, while effective for infecting the entire world, is not quite as consistent as its Necroa counterpart for one main reason. Unlike the ZCOM, the Knights Templar actually know what they're doing and aren't just an uncoordinated mess of a bunch of bombastic idiots. The Knights Templar can mess you up in a few ways here. Firstly, they just ain't no joke and can kill you. Secondly, if they set up too far away from each other, it can put a huge hindrance onto your run, as you'll take way too long to finish. Now you might be thinking, why not just use the Shadow Portal ability? Which is correct, but brings me to my 3rd point. They can blow up your vampire layers, which can really bone you over. After 2 hours of attempts though, I finally managed to take out those stupid Templars, earning me the final pathogen win and the Volcano God achievement for beating every single pathogen in the Volcano Ash scenario. Next up, we gotta get 3 biohazards on every single pathogen in the Pirate Plague scenario, which is a lot harder. Now you're probably thinking, Shawnee, how much harder? I mean, I know that last achievement took you 9 hours, but the way you gassed this all up, what, maybe like 10 hours, 12 hours? What if I told you that Pirate Plague was the single longest I spent on a single achievement in my entire YouTube career? Yes, I'm being completely serious, as this achievement took me me 27 hours of gameplay. That is longer than some of the entire games I have covered on this channel. But what makes this achievement so hard? Well, really, it's just the inverse to volcanic ash. Now, instead of having there being no planes, there are greatly reduced amounts of boats. If you've been paying attention to this video at all, you'll immediately see why this is an issue. Yes, you. It always comes back to you. Well, it's not just Greenland. There are actually a few countries that only have boat ports whom I deem the impossible five. Madagascar, New Guinea, the Philippines, the Caribbean, and of course our boy Greenland. These 5 countries are what stand between you and freedom. So many times I would grab 2 or 3 of the impossible 5, feel really good about my run, and then look around and New Guinea has already closed down their borders, meaning I gotta start this all over again. Now, maybe you're doubting how many boats go out, and maybe I'm just exaggerating this all. I want you to watch the following footage. It shows a full month of Plague in the pirate scenario. Now, keep in mind, while you're watching this, that you have at most 13 months to destroy the entire world, which means you really only have like 9 months to infect it all because you need 3 to kill. Okay, got that? Okay, the clip's over now. How many boats did you count? Oh, you didn't really see any? That's because there were only 8 boats across an entire month. Do you understand that? How difficult this makes this scenario? You have like no chance of infecting these islands in like your first 4 months, as that's when your plague is still getting started. And like I said before, the last 5 months need to be dedicated to killing. Realistically, you've only got a window of like 3 months to infect all of the impossible 5. That is 24 boats. So after 5 hours of struggling with this on bacteria, it was time to start implementing a strategy that any Plague Pro will tell you is required for taking on the game's harder achievements: save scumming. Like I explained earlier when we were farming for genetic codes, each run you do on Plague has separate save slots. Not only that, but you can have an infinite amount of save files per run and restore older ones. What this means is that the only way you have any chance at all of completing this achievement is to save every few in-game days. This will leave you with hundreds of save files that you can restore back to anywhere in your run to redo where it all went wrong. Using this, you can kind of manipulate your own luck. You could save, then let a week play out, then see if you infected a good amount of countries in that time or get the amount of DNA points you need for an important upgrade. In essence, I have just become a really crappy TAS. Only instead of having perfect luck programmed into me, I need to create thousands upon thousands of save states until I get the desired outcome. You might now think that this makes this easy, and you could not be more wrong, because reloading your save also has a huge flaw. You see, every time you load into a save, every single boat and plane on the map is deleted, meaning that if you actually want to have any chance of infecting the impossible 5, you must reload from a far out point. And since so much of that infecting happens in those prime 3 months, you usually won't be able to reload a save right after you infect one of the impossible 5, or else you're shooting yourself in the foot at a real opportunity of getting another one of the 5. Definitely the saddest outcome is when you do somehow manage to infect every country, but just barely miss out on the 3 biohazards. I mean, this run only took me like a year and a half, but still, failure. And that seems to happen over and over and over again. But after 6 hours, something changes. I got every country in the world infected except for the Philippines. But with every border closed, there's zero chance I'm going to be able to pull this run out. That is, until perhaps the luckiest thing in the world happens to me. Non-human infection of Philippines? What? New strat has spread to Philippines through direct animal transmission and now is in the human population. What? Now this is insanely rare. So let me explain what happened here. On higher difficulties, there is no way to infect a country once they've closed their borders. Except on really rare occasions, if you have any of the combined transmission powers, extreme zoonosis or extreme head autophagy, you can sometimes just spontaneously infect another country. I want to emphasize that this is incredibly rare. Like, the fact that it even happened here is a complete fluke. But I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth, as this is finally the chance I need to earn me those precious biohazards. Yes! Oh my god, that was so awful. Oh my god. Now is on to virus, as I get another insanely lucky run, as after just 2 hours, I get a spontaneous infection of Greenland. And to put me in even better spirits, the next few pathogens are basically unaffected by the challenge at hand, as Fungus's spore burst allows it to ignore the inability to infect islands and just burst to get them. And NEURAX worm is, of course, NEURAX worm. These two combined only take me about 30 minutes. Does this mean that things are finally going right for me? Will I be able to pull this out in just a few more hours? And if you're familiar at all with my videos, you know by the way I'm asking these questions that things would obviously not start going right for me. In fact, the next pathogen, parasite, was not only the hardest pathogen to try to achieve this with, but took longer than any other pathogen and took me longer than the entirety of achieving Lava God. But what is it about parasite that took so long? Well, firstly, it's not even that parasite took particularly long. It's more that the diseases before this I just got insanely lucky with. I cannot emphasize to you how rare the non-human infection of an island nation is. Secondly, the main feature of the parasite is, of course, how likely it is to be noticed. And if even one nation closes down their borders, just go ahead and restart your run because you are screwed. I attempt this for hours upon hours upon hours. I know I use hyperbole in my videos a lot, but this is truly one of the most frustrating things I've ever done on my channel because you have absolutely no control over what's happening. Like, let's take Celeste, for example. Beating 7C is far and away the hardest thing I've ever done. The difference is that was all in my control. I had to get better. I needed to jump quicker, dash more precisely. This just feels like dumb luck whether or not I'm able to send 12 freaking boats to New Guinea. Hours and hours fly by and I make absolutely no progress. Just stuck in the exact same position I started in. Forced to start new runs again and again and again. I'm trapped in a prison, a purgatory, a layer of the universe that I cannot escape no matter how hard I tried. Forced to fail time and time again. It feels like destiny at this point. I truly feel nothing as I load in file after file after file. And now this may surprise you, but there are not a ton of resources for this challenge, as most people don't usually subject themselves to this level of torture. But after hours of web searching, YouTube tutorials, and digging through dead Reddit threads, I finally found a solution. Something that would break this entire challenge wide open and finally release me from the shackles that have been put on me. You see, everything in Plague Inc is actually seeded. Kinda. It's actually way more complicated than you would expect from normal seeding, but I'll explain that later. What this seeding allows us to do is learn the path of every single boat and plane in the game. If you load up a file, save, and then fast forward through the run, the path of every single boat and plane you see will always be the same. So what we can do is watch this seed play out and denote the date every single boat travels to one of the impossible 5. Let's say, for example, that I learn a boat is going to arrive in the Caribbean on November 5th, leaving from Mexico. What I can do is save a week before that on October 31st and just continually reload the save until Mexico sends an infected boat. Why, that just sounds incredibly easy, right? Just wham bam, thank you man. Infect every single country. Well, there's a couple of other factors that complicate this more than you would think. Firstly, Plague seeding is strangely imprecise. For whatever reason, all that's seeded about the boat and plane routes is the 2 countries, meaning that even if you've seen the boat go from South Africa to Madagascar 5 times a row on the same exact day, sometimes it'll be going from Madagascar to South Africa instead. This is obviously useless to me and means even more resetting. The next factor we'll need to consider is timeline. Like I said earlier, you've really only got 3 months to infect the impossible 5. In your seed, the best case scenarios, all of them are spread out across different weeks. Otherwise, you'll be forced to reset for infecting 2 islands at once. Even just getting 1 infection is tense enough, so having 2 happen is borderline unreasonable. Next, you need to ensure that you don't have a save that overlaps with the save of another boat leaving. Say, for example, you manage to find a seed where the Caribbean is infected within the first week of October, and Greenland is infected in the week after. Well, the boat heading to Greenland is most likely going to be coming from a European country like Norway or Sweden. The boat ride from Sweden to Greenland is actually pretty long, so even if the infection date is way after the Caribbean's infection date, if you saved after you infected the Caribbean, now when you go to reload that save, since reloading erases all the boats on the map, you've erased the Swedish boat, meaning you can no longer infect Greenland. Next, yes, there are still somehow more factors to consider, is that you need to make sure the country of origin has already been infected. If this doesn't happen, you might as well just find a new seed, because trying to force a plane to head to somewhere like South Africa is going to murder you. The last major factor you need to consider is the shutting down of a country's borders. It's really easy to have your Madagascar infection date be your final infection date pretty late into the run. Because of that, you don't really pay attention to it because, you know, you're too busy spending an hour of your life resetting for the Philippines. Then after all that work, you take a look at Madagascar and notice, holy crap, their borders are closed. Once a country closes their borders, there is no way to reopen them. Okay, I've been literally saving every single in-game day, so let me reload my save. So you go back and whoops, looked like Madagascar actually shut down their borders back in September, so you gotta restart the entire run. Don't get me wrong, this is a lot easier than just praying it goes right, and is actually kind of a cheat code to this achievement. But even with the knowledge of how this works for the entirety of my Prion run, it still takes me 3 whole hours. Across my Prion, bioweapon, and nanovirus runs, using this method, it still takes me 10 straight hours of researching seeds, playing perfectly, and resetting for infections. Luckily for me, those were the difficult ones, as Necroa, Simian, and Shadow Plague all play exactly the same as the previous achievement, though I would like to take another second to just emphasize how much I hate Simian flu. It makes no sense, and it's so complicated. I hate your entire planet, you stupid monkey. Ape has killed ape. Shawnee will kill ape. And with that, after 27 painstaking hours, I had cleared the Pirate Plague scenario. Now was on to the final chunk of achievements, Mr. President, which requires you to beat every pathogen in the Shut Down Everything scenario. I would rank this scenario in difficulty somewhere between Volcano and Pirate. The conceit is that borders and all ports are much more likely to close down. It's unique to the other 2 scenarios in that there's not only like one specific thing you need to adapt to. Instead, this scenario is trademarked by an insane amount of variance. You can use the best strategy possible, but because someone shuts down their border too early, you lose the entire run. Like for example, my run on bacteria takes 45 minutes, but then my run on virus only takes 13 minutes, but then my nanovirus run takes me a whopping 2 hours. It really just all comes down to luck here. If a country decides to just like randomly shut down their borders, forcing a restart. Ryan also takes an insane amount of time, but that's just because, in case I hadn't said it enough, it is the worst disease in the entire game. Necroa, Simian, and Shadow are exactly the same as the other scenarios, each taking me around 2 hours. But after a collective 11 hours there, I had finally done it.
Yeah. This was torture. Actual freaking torture, man. I hated this achievement so much. All 3 of these achievements, please. It like makes me regret even 100%ing this game. Oh my god, that was so terrible. I'm so happy I'm done. I'm so happy I'm done. Holy crap. Oh my god, I'm so glad I'm done.
Finally, after a total 50 hours, I had bested Plague's toughest 3 achievements. With that gigantic weight off my shoulders, it was time to tackle the remaining Mega Brutal achievements. And I'm just gonna be honest with you all, compared to what I went through, these are an absolute breeze. Like seriously, I learned so much about the inner workings of Plague in those 50 hours that I just crushed through NEURAX Worm, Nanovirus, Parasite, Prion, and Bioweapon in just 1 single hour. And I got most of them on my first try. Though the real foe I was fighting against at this point was that I was over 100 hours into this playthrough and my mental state was rapidly deteriorating.
You know the crab like money, know the sponge like fun. I've been trying for so long to sing you the right song. You should have picked mercy. Guys, I can't do this anymore. I think I'm at my limit. I can't play any more Plague. It's like actually killing me. I can't. I want it to end so bad. I was never book smart.
Now let's go through my tier list of diseases. We've already got the first 3 in there, so let's go from top to bottom. Firstly, the worst disease in this game, if I hadn't said it enough, is Prion. It goes slowly, it's frustrating, I hate it so much. Then in the poor tier joining fungus is Parasite. It's literally just a worst version of the bacteria. In the fine tier joining bacteria and virus is Simian Flu. Now keep in mind, this list is based off of how good I think they are. If this was based off of how much I enjoy each disease, this stupid ape virus would be so far into the ground, it would burn in the earth's core. While I don't personally enjoy Simian Flu, being able to mobilize apes to go wherever you want is super strong, but its playstyle is really slow, since all win conditions really revolve around using colonies to grow DNA. In the good tier, we've got, and in this order, Necroa, Bioweapon, and Shadow Plague. Necroa is basically a stronger version of Simian. Bioweapon has insane lethality that can be triggered in an instant, and Shadow Plague lets you infect at insane rates. Shadow Plague was pretty close to hitting the next tier, but all that trouble you spend on Templar just puts it a hair below. Finally, we're into the top tier. In second place, we've got Nanovirus. I didn't fully understand this one until going back through on Mega Brutal, but it basically has really cheap symptoms at the cost of the cure starting earlier. Symptoms, as I've described, are the best thing to spend your DNA on in the entire game. This pathogen is actually the one they use for most of the speedruns in this game, as it allows you to be just that lethal. And yeah, no one's surprised by NEURAX Worm being the king. Honestly, having Trojan Plains would have been enough, but the fact that you also don't need to kill and can instead use Transcendence as a win condition. I finished on my final pathogen, Simian Flu, which gives me the achievement for beating every single disease on Mega Brutal. And while that would have been a lovely place to stop, we still have so much more to do. First up, we've got the Cheats achievement. Yes, for beating every single disease on Mega Brutal, I've now unlocked in-game cheats. These are exactly what you would expect, doing things like giving you infinite DNA, making the cure never start, etc. While most cheats will completely disable achievements, there are 4 that we need to get with them still on. First up, we've got to beat Mega Brutal with the Shuffle Strain on. The Shuffle Strain just basically mixes up the order of your purchases on the 3 screens. And since the endgame ones are usually stronger than the beginner ones, they usually get moved more to the front, making it much easier to win. You're technically supposed to do this 5 different times, but I just used our good old friend save and load here. Next up is to beat Mega Brutal with the Lucky Dip Strain enabled. This lets you start out with 5 random things already unlocked, which is obviously just easier than the normal play. These achievements are pretty much a joke, but I do want to point out an interesting quirk about them. Initially, I tried to unlock both of these achievements at the same time, enabling Lucky Dip and Shuffle Strain. However, cheats disable achievements, so instead of unlocking all 4 at once, Lucky Dip would cancel out Shuffle Strain achievement and vice versa, meaning I had to redo everything. Next up, it was time for me to publish my own custom scenario to Steam Workshop. You see, Plague actually has his own scenario creator where you can make a scenario where anything happens that you can imagine. You can change what symptoms do, the order things unlock, how much money a country has to work on the cure, etc. For mine though, I knew what I had to do. I had to Old Yeller this. So I decided to create the scenario NERF NEURAX and did what the creators of the game should have done long ago and nerf this thing into the ground. I get rid of Trojan Plains and the Transcendence, which really is already more than enough. If anyone actually wants to try this out, I've linked it in the description. If you manage to beat it, send it to me on Instagram or something. I'd actually really love to take a look. Next up, we've got what I've deemed the conditional challenges achievements. These are achievements that require you to play the game in a hyper-specific way and thus make it much harder to succeed. First up, we've got Not Another Zombie Game, where we need to win a Necroa virus game without creating a single zombie, which is just kind of difficult as, you know, that's the entire point of the Necroa virus. Now, while you might think, well, isn't that just kind of like playing the game as bacteria? That could not be more wrong for so many reasons. Firstly, Necroa virus is coded to be much easier to cure, as when you're playing as Necroa, you don't care if you're cured, as you've usually got an army of zombies at your disposal. The second big reason that this is hard is that all of Necroa's lethality symptoms are locked behind the zombie symptom. This greatly reduces the amount of lethality that we can achieve. After a few attempts where I completely fail, I managed to get a run going where I've infected every single person in the world. And with a huge bank of DNA, I rip every single lethal symptom that I have access to and even purchase every single ability that slows the growth of the cure. And still, I'm not even able to kill 15% of the world's population. So obviously there must be a trick to this. And a trick there is, as the only way to accomplish this is insanely specific. Seriously, no single person could have ever guessed what you have to do here, which is why I followed a guide by just a SLAV, which I've linked in the description. As a general overview, instead of trying to win as a Necroa virus, we're gonna try and morph our disease into rabies. Yes, I'm being serious. What we need to do is start in India and evolve the zootonic shift transmission. Then once we have enough DNA, we'll grab the BAT1 transmission. From there, we need to save and then do something I have not done once in this entire playthrough: open the news ticker. While this is mostly just a place for like meme news jokes that the developers wrote into the game, occasionally actually important things will happen here as well. You only have until your virus has infected all of India to get this, so it takes a ton of resetting. However, after about 25 minutes of resets, I managed to trigger the random event I've been waiting for this entire time. Colony of rapid bats triggers town evacuation. This is the first trigger flag we'll need in order to get the rabies event. Now we need to devolve BAT1 and evolve 2 drug resistance and cold resistance abilities. With that done, we just wait for a very long time for this all to happen. We're specifically waiting for 2 important events to pop up on the news tracker, and until that happens, we want to spread completely unnoticed. The only thing we need to look out for is mutations. Since we're going to be waiting for so long, we don't want anyone to discover our disease. However, we can't just devolve them, as we get a very specific amount of DNA by spreading, and we can't afford to spend any of it just evolving symptoms. Instead, you need to save like every 2 months, that way if something mutates, you can just instantly devolve it. Eventually, all the way in 2028, I get my first notice as the World Health Organization starts the Rabies Eradication Initiative. I foolishly believed that this meant the next one was around the corner, which could not have been more wrong, as I have to wait until 2030 for the final puzzle piece. This piece says, film about rabies epidemic becomes global hit, which really just goes to show where the state of the film industry is headed in the next few years. With this, we can finally start the run. I purchase out a few symptoms and then save the game. From here, you need to reload until your virus is deemed a form of rabies. For whatever reason, this significantly slows the cure progress, which is good because even with the most lethal symptoms, it takes my disease all the way until 2033 to kill everyone. Yes! It only took me 3,074 days, wow. Next up was to win a game as bacteria in under 365 days. For this one, I just played on casual and then picked the same abilities I always do, which gives me this achievement on my very first attempt. Wow, that was insanely easy. Casual mode is like literally nothing. A point only further emphasized by our next run, where we need to evolve the total brain death symptom in the first year and then win the run. And you know, I feel like if there was something going around that caused total death to the brain, I feel like the world would be a little bit more focused on curing But it was then that I realized that there was something in our world that caused total brain death, and it still gets 600,000 average viewers. Now, the next of these challenge runs is definitely the hardest, as it's called The Future is Bright, and requires us to end the game with apes and humans living together peacefully. And can I just say enough? Enough ape-related tasks. Please stop it, Plague. The win condition for this one is not only really weird and difficult, but incredibly time-consuming. We need to balance making our disease noticed and consequently cured, not killing humans, and also not letting any humans kill us apes. Like every other simian run, it starts with us having to set up a bunch of colonies. Though I did not realize until right now, if you double-click on a country, you can see how many apes they have, which is why Central Africa is the best starting location in the game, as it has the greatest amount of apes for whatever reason. With all those colonies set up, we need to now go ahead and make every game in the world intelligent, so I max out ape-to-ape transmission and start migrating apes all across the world. You also need to ensure that no symptoms mutate on your disease. Once you've infected all of the world's apes, evolve only the symptoms rash and nausea. Now all we need to do is wait. Now obviously, it's going to take the world a very long time to cure a disease with symptoms that barely affect people and have zero lethality. But unlike in our Necroa run, we can't just sit here and wait, as despite us just sitting there and chilling, constant action is being taken against us apes. And like I said before, you cannot have a single ape die. You need to keep all of them alive. So anytime a country sets up a research lab, you need to immediately move every single ape out of there. This is incredibly difficult because even playing on the slowest speeds, sometimes the lab manages to grab hold of one of our precious ape soldiers. It's super hard to watch every single country to see if one's setting up a lab, so it's then that I get an idea. I purchased the ability that has all intelligent apes move towards colonies. And since every single ape is now intelligent, that means all of them. From there, I move all of my colonies into East Africa.
They're all in East Africa, 600,000 apes. That's freaking hilarious.
Yes, our entire gang of apes has now been united as they settle into their home in East Africa. This becomes much easier to manage, as now I only need to watch a single country. Then whenever a lab is set up there, I just migrate our ape tribe to somewhere else on the map. This part of the run actually takes me 25 minutes, just pacing my apes back and forth over and over and over again. Finally, 1,600 days into my run, the humans managed to cure my disease, which gives me my long-awaited achievement.
Thank you! The apes can coexist. These apes are coexisting.
Now, I had just one challenge achievement left to win a Shadow Plague run without using Shadow Slaves. This is insanely easy, as there are tons of Shadow Plague symptoms that can cause lethality. But you know, the fact that it took me this long into the playthrough to get this achievement really just goes to show you how broken Shadow Slaves are. With that, I had finished all these special challenge achievements, and it was now on to the multiplayer achievements. Yes, there is somehow a multiplayer mode in this game too! Did the developers ever think, you know, just to stop? Did they ever just look around and go, you know, that's enough? There are two types of multiplayer modes in Plague Inc, so let's start with the Versus mode. Inside of Versus mode, there are three main achievements to grab: Genetic Denomination, Endemic Infection, and Beta Infection. Now, the first one just requires you to win a game of Versus mode, which is easy enough, but the next two are actually more interesting. The Endemic Infection achievement can only be obtained by playing with someone else who has the achievement. In fact, this achievement started out by only being had by the game's lead developer, and then slowly infecting the Plague fandom through games he played online, and then games played against each other. And I assume the Beta Infection is the same one, but for like beta testers or something. I don't know. I found a guy in the Plague Inc Discord who had both of these infection achievements, and he generously agreed to play against me. I don't know if he just like let me win or was like actually putting up a fight, but I just like completely slopped him. Like, I really just bought the things that I always buy, with the exception of Versus mode having a Trojan plane ability as well that you can just use to infect those island nations. Either way, I won, and I thank you for the victory, weary traveler. This game gives me every single Versus mode achievement that I needed. I do not understand this mode at all, and I am very happy keeping it that way. However, the same cannot be said for the second multiplayer mode, Co-op. For the co-op achievements, I tapped my wonderful girlfriend Tuesday, so huge thank you to her for all her help here. To start out and start understanding the mode, we decide to load in on casual difficulty just to learn what this whole thing is all about. Basically, you and your partner each control your own disease, with the goal of eradicating everyone on Earth like normal. Now, while this might just sound like it would be an easier version of normal mode, co-op mode has had a ton of differences made to it, so you can't just solo it and are forced to work with your partner. The main change is that it's just significantly easier for the world to cure your disease. Firstly, just in the fact that your cure percentage goes up much quicker, but also there are these things called cure labs that are set up. If these cure labs are left untouched, they will skyrocket the cure development in literally days. Besides that, the other big difference is that when one person buys any sort of upgrade for their disease, it becomes insanely more expensive for the other person. This is pretty inconvenient when a lot of the abilities and symptoms suck, and then only one person can get the good ones like necrosis, drug resistance, organ failure, air transmissions, etc. We start off by doing a few rounds in casual, as co-op mode has its own bank of genetic codes that we'll need to unlock if we want to have any chance of succeeding in brutal mode. This mode is pretty easy, but we do run into one significant issue that slightly impedes our progress while trying out normal mode. Already at 60% though. It's gonna be up to you, Tuesday. You gotta get Kazakhstan, you gotta get Central Asia. I'm gonna die.
I don't know my countries.
Kazakhstan is right below Russia. You gotta hit Iceland, and you gotta hit New Guinea, and you gotta hit Philippines.
You'll say things, and I go, and then I just have to key around until I find it.
I guess since I've played this so much, I'm like, yeah, I know every country in the world is now.
Eventually, we get 5 wins under our belt, which unlocks us each a new pathogen. For Tuesday, she picks up bioweapon, and since there's no NEURAX, worm, or nanovirus, that's literally one of the best options she could have gotten. Me, on the other hand, I get fungus, so I guess I'll be sticking to bacteria. With a few genetic codes at our disposal, Tuesday and I decide to dive into brutal mode. Our basic strategy is that with her as the bioweapon, she's gonna go for mass infectivity, hitting all of the major nations of the world, while I, as a bacteria, strive for hitting the islands. How do I plan to do this? Well, luckily for me, co-op mode also has the same Trojan plane ability that Versus mode had, meaning I can send planes directly towards those islands. The only difference here to the normal Trojan plane's ability is that each plane you send increases the cost of sending planes, and by the end of each run, each plane I'm sending is costing upwards of like 15 DNA. This strategy does not end up being super effective. You see, with my experience in Plague by this point, I figured I'd be able to just infect the whole world incredibly easily, just telling Tuesday the symptoms that I would usually get, so she'd be able to kill the world in just a few months. However, while she grabs everything like I normally do, once she has any semblance of lethality, her disease is instantly cured before she's even taken out a single country. Then my disease is left with nearly no DNA and a year left, so I am then cured without making a single mark on the world. The biggest problem really is that bioweapon is just absolutely dreadful in this mode. For some reason, since they added a ton of new abilities exclusive to co-op mode, they didn't transfer over any of bioweapon's lethality resetting abilities, meaning no Armageddon, and your disease is also increasing lethality no matter what. After a few tries of this, I eventually realized there's no way this is gonna work, so instead Instead, we need to pivot. I do some research and realize that first, co-op mode is very hard. And second, there's only really one strategy that you can use to win brutal co-op mode, that being the sacrificial lamb route. For this, Tuesday and I actually switched computers since she had the better perks. So the footage you'll be watching will be from Tuesday's perspective.
Hi, gamers. Today.
Oh, you have a nice chair. Dang, someone really sexy with a good rack got you this chair.
The premise of this strategy is actually really simple. Tuesday would act as the sacrificial lamb while I would slowly infect everyone in the world. Tuesday would start in a country with a really big population like China, while I would start in good old reliable Saudi Arabia. Tuesday, as the sacrificial lamb, would immediately make her disease as infective and as noticeable as possible. And since she can infect nearly a seventh of the world without even leaving China's walls, it saved her a ton more DNA that she'd need for later. Me, on the other hand, would invest in air transmissions to start infecting all countries around the world and gathering the tools I would need to finish the job, like drug resistance and clearing the paths to necrosis. Tuesday's lamb disease is then cured, and it's time for my disease to strike. Now, what's unfortunate is that my disease has not and has no way to spread to island nations. Thankfully, even though Tuesday's disease has been eradicated, she can still help from beyond the grave. Using all her DNA that she saved up, she can send Trojan planes on behalf of my disease to all those hard-to-reach corners of the world. Finally, from both mine and her side, I can take some of her disease's infectivity and lethality, giving me the final push I need. This ends up being enough, and we're able to pick up the achievement for beating co-op mode on Brutal. Now, there's still one co-op achievement left, and that's to beat the mode using the random quick match setting. That means I now have to beat the mode getting paired up with a random person from across the internet. And for whatever reason, no matter what I do, I can't get the difficulty lower than Brutal. Meaning the mode I was barely able to beat with someone in the same room as, I now need to beat with a complete rando from across the world. Luckily though, the amount of people playing a 15-year-old mobile game at 11 o'clock in the morning on July 4th is literally in the single digits, which means that just by clicking at the right time, Tuesday and I can snipe each other's lobbies and complete the mode again. With that done, there was just one final co-op achievement I needed to grab, and that was nuclear warfare. For this one, you need to launch a nuclear strike in a versus game. This is a bit of a weird one, and since it was going to require very specific conditions, I once again loaded into a game with Tuesday. Here, you need to keep an eye on the news tracker and wait for it to say a country is accused of nuclear weapons testing. From there, you need to send a Trojan plane to that country and completely infect it. Then you need to mutate the insanity symptom. More often than not, this will just result in the country just ceasing all nuclear testing. But after a few retries, I get a run where Japan goes through with the nuclear plan. This now gives me the nuclear pop-up, letting me completely nuke any country of my choice. I choose China to test the full extent of the nuke's power, and it wipes out all 1.4 billion people there, dear lord. On a serious note though, I know of absolutely no way you could use this in any multiplayer context. Irregardless, this earns me my very final multiplayer achievement. This just leaves 3 groups of 79 achievements left to earn. First up are all the DLC achievements. Plague's DLC is absolutely massive. In fact, it's basically an entire other game where you instead are playing as the good guys and trying to cure the target disease. This would require an entirely separate video if I was to cover it, so let me know if you guys are interested in that in the comments down below, and maybe I'll make one. But that just leaves us with 2 groups of 56 achievements left. The first group are the remaining combo achievements. There were some more I was missing in the simian flu group, as well as a whole host of them I missed in the fake news scenario. These mostly involve just creating a fake news story with attributes based off a real event, like making a cultural story started by men, blaming journalists, and calling it Gamergate. With those completed, we're left with just a group of 46 achievements remaining that I like to call the rare events achievements. These all focus around incredibly uncommon events that can happen to you in a game of Plague. Sort of like the rabies thing that happened to us during the Necro with no zombies run. For the most part, all these achievements are pretty insignificant and boring, either just requiring completely random chance, waiting for events in the news ticker, or infecting certain countries. As such, I'm going to skip over pretty much all of these, but there were a few I wanted to call out. First up in this group, we have to destroy the eye cure project, which you might have seen pop up throughout this game, which I guess is like some sort of iPod that like cures people. Steve Jobs, Apple is literally nothing without you. Once we get the pop-up for this eye cure, we need to evolve fever and sweating, thus destroying whatever the heck an eye cure, whatever it was. What is this? Next up, we have to knock out all of the nuke achievements. These basically just involve getting the US to blow up another country, which given what I know about America, shouldn't really be that hard. In order to get the US to nuke China, you have to make everyone go insane so a horrible dictator takes power and blows up other countries. Despite thinking this would be a piece of cake, you have zero control over who the US decides to attack. No matter what I did, no matter how many attempts I made, I just couldn't get the US to nuke China. But after an hour and a half of resets, I finally got Uncle Sam to do his big one in China. Then it was time for some of the most evil, most diabolical, tiring achievements I've ever had to do in any game. The simian flu. This godforsaken drum actually played for so long, it started upsetting my dog, and I would have to leave the room whenever he saw me sit on my chair. Most of the achievements for this plague type are fairly simple. Let all of the apes die, reverse the disease, give monkey guns, classic plague shenanigans. There was one standout in this group though. The achievement Film Fanatic requires you to recreate the setting of Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. If you've never seen this movie before, I'm sure there's some TikTok account that's split into 60-second clips for your dopamine-starved brain. Basically, you need to have intelligent apes ruling over the Earth with only 3,000 healthy humans surviving. Healthy is the key phrase here, because if you create a disease that's too viral, you'll wipe out the entire population, leaving only stupid monkeys. But if you're too slow, the humans will cure your disease too quickly. So after multiple attempts, evolving and devolving symptoms, moving monkeys around, and listening to the incessant beating of their drums, I had done it. I had recreated the setting for the planet of the— wait, where's my achievement? I even got a pop-up. Surely this must be a glitch. Turns out it's not a glitch. Yes, you can recreate the setting for the Planet of the Apes just like the achievement description says, but what the game doesn't tell you is that to officially get the achievement, you must start in the US and keep an ape colony there the entire game without moving I guess in reference to this. After I discover this annoying contingency, I go back, redo the plague with a freaking ape colony in the US, and finally unlock the achievement and say goodbye to the simian flu for good, and everybody was better off because of it. Next, I shifted my focus to the UK. There are 3 Brexit-related achievements for some reason that all require you to get the UK to leave the EU with different levels of severity. The strategy is basically the same for all 3, involving infecting every country around the UK, but not the UK itself, so they close down their borders and decide to leave the EU once and for all. And here I was, the final achievement, the big bad I had saved for last. A Sesame Street themed achievement called Count Countula that just requires you to kill exactly 123 people in the US as a nod to everyone's favorite counting vampire. Wait, is he a vampire? I mean, I feel like he— oh my god, this goes way deeper than I could have ever imagined. And with that, we had collected the game's final achievement, meaning I had now 100%ed Plague Inc. So what did I think? You know, I got complicated feelings on Plague. Like, the first 10 hours were honestly really fun, but the rest of this was kind of a slog. Like, once I figured out that all I had to do was just get the same symptoms over and over again, I really just kind of zoned out. And that was like 150 hours of zoning out. So I will say this game does go on sale all the time, and at the time of me writing this, I actually saw it on sale for just like $4, and for that price, it's absolutely worth your time and could result in a few hours of fun. $15? Meh, maybe not so much. Either way, thank you all for watching. Let me know what game you'd like to see me 100% next, and I'll see you all next time. Bye! And thanks again to War Thunder for sponsoring today's video. Make sure to check out my links in the description to check out War Thunder for free on PC, all consoles, and now your mobile phone. And remember, if you're a new player or a player that hasn't played in 6 months on PC or console, you'll be gifted a special War Thunder bonus pack. This bonus pack includes the exclusive vehicle decorator Eagle of Valor, 100,000 silver lions, and 7 days of premium account. This bonus is only available for a limited time, so make sure to use my links in the description to jump into the most comprehensive vehicle combat game ever made.